It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Forrest.
I'm Tony Schumacher.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan.
This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
What's up, NHRA fans? WFO NHRA Nitro podcast is back on, and you guys who are downloading this show, let me tell you, just golden greatness about to happen on this show. We have got Shirley Muldowney and Big Daddy Don Garlits back to back to talk about racing each other at the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals. Do you understand what I'm just telling you? Do you realize we've got Garlits, we've got Muldowney? It was just announced that Garlits and Muldowney were voted by the fans. They got to run each other at unfinished business at the Gatornationals. And Garlits and Muldowney are going to race each other one more time. First round, the winner advances. Who will they run? Who do they want to run? Who do they want to run in the final round? What do they have to say to each other? I am going to ask them. Shirley Muldowney first, Big Daddy Don Garlits second, back-to-back in the second segment of the show. Oh, yes, also on the show, Matt Hagan. He won the Magic Dry Arizona Nationals, then had a big test session out there, then went out to the Pennzoil 400 in Vegas and was the Grand Marshal along with Leah. And we're going to hear from Matt. We're going to get a full debrief from Matt Hagan. So all you Don Schumacher Racing fans, you got somebody to root for here on this show, like you're rooting for him to do a great interview. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Also on the show, Frank Hawley. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, one of our great sponsors, but Frank has already put cars on the new surface up there at Gainesville Raceway. This weekend is the Baby Gators divisional race where class will be decided for the Gatornationals. Alan Reinhart's going to tell us all about that. But we're going to check in with Frank Hawley, who had great success in 1982 and 1983 in the Funny Car Eliminator, and we're all building to the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals. I'm going to ask Frank what he thinks about the pairings in the Unfinished Business Legends race. And also going to ask him about Austin Prock and Jordan Vandergriff, because they started their careers out at Frank Hawley's. So a great video on NHRA.com highlighting their careers. They both talk about Frank Hawley and how he was extremely helpful to them. And here on WFO Radio Podcast, we have got Frank Hawley. And he's going to talk about Jordan, and he's going to talk about Austin, and he's going to talk about Garlits, and he's going to talk about Muldowney, and he's going to talk about all of the things happening around the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals. So we've got Garlits, we've got Muldowney, we've got Matt Hagan, we've got Frank Hawley. We've also got John DiBartlomeo, Division I Hall of Famer, by the way. So I guess like everybody's in the Hall of Fame except for Matt. I guess, right? Is Alan in a Hall of Fame? I don't know. John DiBartlomeo from Drag Racing Edge magazine, calling in from Gainesville Raceway. They're up there. They're queued up. They're ready to rock. They're ready to roll. They're pulling in for the Baby Gators, which is this weekend. And remember, we've got that interview in the archive with Rich Schaefer from Division II, where he lays it all out. Like, how do you get in? And if you have your Gatornationals ticket, can you go? And are they going to stream it? And the answer is yes to all of those things. Just go, baby. Just go. Friday. Just go. Watch class. I'll be watching on the web. So we've got a great show. Garlits and Muldowney, Matt Hagan, Frank Hawley, John DiBartlomeo, and, of course, Alan Reinhart just seconds away. But right now I want to tell you about the people who make this show possible. Yes, WFO Radio has got sponsors that want your ears. Not for keeps. Like motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan's mail order brand. You can get Amalie oil to your door. Filters, K&N filters, parts, pieces. Motorsportsguys.com. And how about Terry McMillan going into his sponsor's race hot off that number 2 qualifier? Race day didn't go exactly as he would have planned, but the car is running well, and we're going to have Terry on next week. That's something we do each week. We're also going to have Dom Lagana on next week. Something we do. Magic Dry, a big sponsor of WFO Radio, along with CatSpotLitter.com. Scott Palmer stepping up to support the podcast and make sure everything gets out and published. And we're interviewing people every single week. If you've got a cat, get CatSpot. If you've got a factory or a shop, get Magic Dry. And you can get them on the web, magicdryus.com. Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants, Hangstafers Laboratories, supporters of WFO Radio. Hangstafers, been around for a long, long time. They're on board with DSR and JFR, and they're working in the shops, and they can help you too. So if you've got a shop, if you are in the metalworking business, check out hangstafers.com for more information. I already mentioned Frank Hawley and the drag racing school, Frank Hawley's drag racing school, and frankhawley.com. I'm going to ask him about the Dragster Adventure, because that's the one that I think every casual fan can appreciate. Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com, Marvin Rodak. Hot sauces and spice rubs, gourmet coffee shipped to your door. You open it, you just enjoy. And most of our listeners who have tried it have reported back that it is just greatness. And if you're down there in the Fort Worth, Texas area, I know many of our listeners are, you can go pick up a grill from Marvin and tools and all kinds of great stuff. They've got great add-ons for your grilling, like an incredible chimichurri that comes right out of Argentina. It was really great, and I still think about it. I had one bottle of it, and I got to get more. It's that great. That is Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. HusseyPerformance.net, quality copper head gaskets, been in the business for over 40 years. You got to call David Allen, 724-318-8292. Any bore, any size, any thickness, HusseyPerformance.net. Finally, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. Folks at Samtech supporting the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. The first race is at the Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals, the first race of the 2019 season, and we have got something special. So here's the deal. If you are a fan of the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown, you must keep your ear on this show and our WFO Radio podcast feed for the next several days, because we're going to have some very cool news and interviews for you regarding the Factory Stock Showdown. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. This is going to be like ground central for factory stock. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. All right, let's get on with the show. Joining us now, he is the voice of the NHRA, will be calling the action at the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals and the Baby Gators, where class eliminations for the aforementioned 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals will be run. So if you're in that area, you got to go. Alan Reinhart joins us now. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe. Great to be back. Hey, I need to start lobbying for a name change, though.
Okay. How about Frank Reinhart?
No.
Oh.
The Baby Gators.
Okay.
A baby gator is a hatchling.
Yes.
So why don't we just call it the hatchlings?
Hatchlings, Alan. I don't know. The name hatchlings, it just doesn't feel right for me. Do you have other choices for us, perhaps?
A baby gator is a hatchling. I didn't make that up.
I know, but why do we have to be so scientific?
What would you call a baby dog?
A puppy.
A puppy.
Yes.
Why? Because that's what it is.
That's
it's
what
a
it's
puppy.
called. The hatchlings.
If we had the dog nationals, you wouldn't call it the baby dog nationals. Wouldn't you call it the puppy nationals?
I guess.
I mean, come on. I think I got you here.
No, the logic is hard to argue with once you take me down that road. Well, we can
had the cat nationals, the one before it would be the kitten nationals or the kitty nationals.
Yes.
I mean, it's the hatchlings.
The hatchlings, huh? All right. Well, listen.
Yeah.
Here's the deal.
I might be the only one lobbying for that, but it gives me something to argue about.
As in the past, I will support you if you can pull this off. So I got your back.
Okay. So you're going to let me do all the work, and then if it comes to fruition, you're going to claim that you've been on my side the whole time. That's
Pretty much.
what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Okay.
That's exactly how it's going to go. See, I got your back. Got you covered. But really, though, it's exciting. It's exciting to know that there's a significant, not that class eliminations at a points race aren't significant. Of course they are, but this is a huge deal that's happening on Friday.
Yeah, it really is. And, there was a couple of reasons for doing this. I believe it was Rich Schaefer that first, kind of floated the idea, and it gained momentum in a hurry. Obviously the Gatornationals are going to be just jam-packed with stuff. I'm trying to remember the last time that we had a race that we raced every category in NHRA competition. Super Street will be contested there. Top Dragster and Top Sportsman will be contested. Nitro Harley, Pro Stock Motorcycle, Pro Mod, Factory Stock, everything is going to be there. And if we end up with any kind of a schedule conflict, any kind of, class eliminations is usually the first thing that the axe falls on, and understandably so, because that's something that, although it's certainly very important to some of the racers, you can look at qualifying, you can go based on performance, you can award somebody the Class Nationals, trophy win without taking the time in the day to contest the whole thing. So one, I thought that was a brilliant decision to move it to the regional race. And the second one is, because of the quotas that we have at national events, there's only going to be so many stockers, only going to be so many super stockers that make it to the Gators. And with the class eliminations being moved the week prior, now everybody that wants to can go, because you don't need grade points to get into the regional event. You can just go run it. So I think it's going to be much more competition. I think it's going to be a blast. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to it. And the trophy will say Gator Nationals class champion. So it's going to be that special. And it's just, one of the things that's going to be going on down there.
Yes, and Warren Evans is going to be streaming it, and so we can all, like, if we're in Alaska, obviously if you are in Tampa, you should go. If you're in Alaska, you should watch the stream and make your plans to go the following week. We did an interview with Rich Schaefer, the aforementioned. That's the second time I used that word. And earlier in the year, it is in the archive for maybe racers that are on their way, or people who are wondering, like, what about this and how do I get in, and can I go if I got a Gator Nationals ticket? All of those things were addressed by Rich Schaefer in an interview on WFO Radio, which is in our archive, the whole, like, why we're doing all this. Let's dig a little deeper into, we got a lot to talk about here, Alan, but, class eliminations and why it's important. Not everybody who has a class car, it's hard to say that they don't care about winning the event. Of course they do, but many of them, their focus is having the quickest car in their class, and that's their priority, not so much being a great top-end racer in the handicap style race.
You're exactly right. And, that's probably more the old school guys than the new school guys, because back in the day, that's what it was. They didn't race like they do now in stock eliminator, where you dial and then it's a handicap start. And it's very similar to bracket racing, although class racers hate that term. But it really is very similar when you get into eliminations. But it was all about, you better have a fast car, because you were going to have to beat everybody else that had an A car, or everybody else that had a B car, everybody else that had a D automatic, whatever it may be. And so there was a lot of pride in winning class. After that, they would handicap them off in almost a comp eliminator style thing. But winning class was the big deal. And for some of especially the old school racers, it still is. And it's very, very entertaining to watch, whether it's classic muscle cars, whether it's the new model muscle cars, whether it's the new generation stuff, to just have at it. First one to the finish line, come and get it. No penalty for, breaking out for any, just let's see who's got the best car. For those maybe newer fans, if you like the factory stock showdown, because it's heads up racing, it's flat out, it's first one to the finish line. It's the best of Dodge, the best of Ford, the best of Chevy, running flat out without a handicap, without just come and get you some. That's what class eliminations is, from top to bottom. And it's very entertaining racing. It's very fun racing. And if you're a car guy, it's very interesting to watch cars that, let's say you're dialed in at 1060, that's what you normally run. You're 1060 to 1065 when you're dialing it in. But now all of a sudden you're running class, and, oh, hey, look at here. Joe just went 1032, because they'll calm them down a little bit for a handicap style eliminator to try to keep the consistency. But when you're in a performance race, you have got to jump on it. You've got to lean on things, and you've got to let it cut loose. And that's why it's so entertaining. Rapid fire,
a couple of things for people out there. Look, Alan, I'm of no illusion that a lot of our fans, drag racing fans, are coming because they see some of these TV shows that are popular, like Street Outlaws, like, oh, cars racing. Wow, this is neat. Oh, drag racing. Oh, there's professionals. Oh, wow, this is a big thing. I think that is happening. And now we're talking about drag racing, real drag racing. And there's a lot of stuff that has to and can be done to win a drag race against competition that's doing the same thing to you. So what are some of the things that they may change, become more aggressive at, update round to round, depending on their running, to wring every last thousandth of a second out of their cars?
Well, how much would you like to have the ice concession? Let's start there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, how many times have you seen the guys down in the staging lanes with the hood open? No, there are a number of things you can do to pick up performance in a car short term. Many of the competitors will have a different set of tires. If you put on a smaller diameter tire, you've got a different ratio. Maybe you go from the bias ply to the radial because they're a little bit faster, even if they're not quite as consistent. You can actually drain oil out of the motor. It's very common for racers to take a quart and a half of oil out because the windage, when it's down there in the oil pan splashing around on the crankshaft, will actually cost you horsepower. Now, you don't want to race it like that forever, but if you've got one or two runs that you really just need to pick up 300 or 400 or 500ths of a second, that's a trick that'll do that for you. The ice on the manifold. Cold intake charge, obviously, that's why intercoolers exist, because the cooler the air is going into the motor, the better. And the competitors will sit in the staging lanes with ice bags just piled up on top of the intake manifold and around the carburetor, trying to get it as cold as possible. Obviously, it's got to be removed before you fire it up to go out down the racetrack, but there's performance to be had there. Maybe you crank another degree or degree and a half of timing into it. You can push a lot of things to the edge that you can get away with for a short period of time. But again, you wouldn't want to have to drive it like this all the time, because obviously the more performance you wring out of something, the trade-off is life expectancy. That's why they have to rebuild top fuel cars every time, because when you're making 11,000 horsepower, you're trading off life expectancy. But there are a lot of tricks that you can do if you're willing to take the short-term gain and the guys, to win a special trophy like a 50th anniversary Gatornationals trophy. I think a lot of guys will do that.
Absolutely. And that is going on this weekend at Gainesville Raceway, the Hatchlings race before the Gatornationals. I'm trying.
See, I already converted you.
Well, I'm working it. I'm tuning it up.
One down, everybody else to go.
But this is it. And if you cannot be there, you can watch on the stream, and Alan is going to call the action. Now, I want to give the class racers their due for what this is about to happen. This is a huge, huge deal, and I'm very excited about it. But I'm also very excited about something that's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, NHRA's unfinished business, a promotion that took shape over last year that we now today know the matchups first round. NHRA posted a video on their NHRA.com and their social. Daryl Gwynn is the Grand Marshal. I went over to Daryl's house and revealed the results of the fan vote to him, and that is up on NHRA.com. Now, Garlits and Muldowney, they are going to be on this show right after you, Alan. We're going to speak with Shirley, and then we're going to speak with Garlits. And I'm going to give them each an opportunity, like the old school commercials, right? Like where they would say something like, Shirley needs to go back to the kitchen, or, oh, Big needs to go back to the swamp. Something like that. I have a feeling they're going to be very respectful towards each other. But how great is this? We get to see Garlits and Muldowney one more time.
I'm waiting to see just how respectful they are to each other, because certainly they have developed a very healthy respect, as the years have gone on, and as both of them have not been competing now for the last few years. And I think the understanding of what the other one was going through all of this time, and, people soften a little bit, I think, as the years go by, but that was not when they were going to be in competition. And anybody that knows Shirley Muldowney, she has not lost one iota of her competitive fire. And if you put her, I don't care what you put her, I don't care if you put her in a golf cart, if you put Don Garlits in the lane next to her, she's just looking at an enemy. And I think it's going to be an instant flashback to the early days when they were going at it, hammer and tong. I think it's going to be great. And I think it's going to be exactly the same thing for Don Garlits. I'm glad that the fans voted that, because now we're guaranteed to get to see that matchup. And for everybody that said, man, how cool would it be if they raced in the final? What if they didn't race in the final and you never saw them go head to head? So, this way, and I think I even think for bragging rights, it's going to be better. Can you picture, okay, Joe, it's me and you. Okay. It's me and you.
Right.
Yeah. I'm glad I get Joe first round, because you know what? He can go have lunch and a beer while I finish racing the rest of the day. What do you think about that, Joe?
Yeah. I'm annoyed by it.
That's going to be the mentality those two have. Not, I'm looking forward to racing Joe later. It's like, I'm looking forward to sending him home right now. Let's get him out of here.
Yeah, and this debate has been going on, and folks, behind the scenes, that what Alan said about, wouldn't it be great if they made it to the final round? When I looked at these matchups, to me, like, all the other stuff is great, but that was the must-see matchup, period, and we could not leave it to chance. And fortunately, the fans saw it the same way, Alan. Like this, if there's one thing we've got to see here, it's Garlits and Muldowney. And they're both on the show minutes from now, going to be talking about it, how they're going to take it seriously, what they're going to do, all of that coming up next. Let's talk about the other matchups, though. Bernstein and Amato. First of all, I think the matchups, this is exactly what I voted. These are the matchups that I voted, and obviously the majority of viewers and listeners out there, but I think they make the most sense. Bernstein, Amato. Two champions, both broke speed milestones at Gainesville, both did very well, and they got to go at it first round.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a fun one also. There's not a bad first-round matchup. Garlits and Muldowney certainly have probably the most marquee value. But when you look at, Kenny Bernstein winning all those championships in Funny Car and Joe Amato and all the success he had in Top Fuel, and then when Kenny Bernstein moved over to Top Fuel, all of a sudden, I'm not saying there was a new sheriff in town, but it got a whole lot tougher for Joe when Kenny Bernstein made that move. And the respect between those two is very high. I don't think there was ever any genuine hatred there like Garlits and Muldowney had in the early days. But, both of them still very, very competitive. Talk to Kenny Bernstein and tell me if you think he's lost his competitive edge. It's one last shot at glory for a lot of these guys and, of course, Shirley. And they are taking it really seriously, believe me. Every time we had one of them last year when they were doing their tour, various drivers would come to a race here and there and sit down and talk about it and kind of promoting the upcoming deal. And you could hear in their voice how much they want one last shot to go beat somebody. And whoever gets out of Gainesville with that special trophy, it's going to have a really center spot on the mantle, I promise you.
Absolutely. Kenny Bernstein, this guy's in great physical shape. They get out there and they do that fast walking. Joe Amato, I know you've seen him, also excellent physical shape. So, older in years, but definitely, trying to keep themselves as young as possible. Don the Snake versus Ed the Ace McCullough. Wow. Snake versus the Ace one more time. Like, that's a great matchup also.
It is. I mean, it's a rivalry that goes back to the 60s and ran very solidly through the 90s and maybe even into the 2000s. They raced in Funny Car. They raced in Top Fuel. I think it's still kind of a sore point with McCullough that he never won a championship, but he won Indy a number of times. And McCullough had a lot of success down in Gainesville, as did Prudhomme. So, going for bragging rights and going for one last shot to take this guy out. Just looking at my Gainesville stats here, McCullough actually won Gainesville 4 times. Snake won it 5 times. It's just one more chance to take a jab at an old rival. I was going to say enemy, but I don't think that's the right word. An old rival.
No, that's a good thing. And then finally, the pro stock side of the world. I remember there were a lot of people who were like, I don't think the pro stock guys should have to run each other first round. But it's just the natural order of things. You got Warren, 9-time winner, versus Terry Vance. So that's the whole motorcycle, the entire drag racing motorcycle community. And maybe even in the automotive world, the motorcycle community in general, they've got to be rooting for Terry Vance big time in this race.
I agree. Terry Vance won Gainesville 5 times. He's had a lot of success down there. And Gainesville was always a big part of the motorcycles. The fact that they start their season down there, the fact that that's the place that you get off on the right foot. There's a lot of teams that will go down to Florida and do some testing during the wintertime, getting ready for that big race in the season opener. And I'm glad whoever's wisdom it was that said, hey, we need to include Terry Vance in this, I applaud them, because I think, A, the motorcycles are a big enough part of the history of Gainesville that they should be represented, and B, now there's going to be a whole lot of two-wheel fans that are going to be paying attention that if Terry wasn't in the race, I'm not sure they would be.
Exactly. No, you got to link in the two-wheel fans. We got a huge base of them that come to Gainesville every year for this. We got to bring them in. and Warren Johnson is going to try to take him down, and I think the winner might come out of that group. Now, do you think these guys and girl are going to, these Toyota Camrys are supposed to be identically prepared and all, but might we see one of them disappear? Like, where'd that one go for an hour or so?
If you do, it'd probably be Warren's.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I promise you, as a guy who has specialized in naturally aspirated gas-burning engines for his career and who has so many performance milestones, as soon as he was asked about this, something in his brain went, okay, if I can just get that car for 10 minutes and get the hood open, here's something I can do that's going to give me an advantage, because that's the way he thinks. So that one needs to be on lockdown. I'm not so sure that the rest of them would be a huge issue, but I'd worry about it if Warren's car ended up missing for half an hour or so.
Exactly. Super excited about this. I know it's fun. Some people have suggested, and I mentioned with each of the guests today, the road cars, the fact that they're Camrys, regular cars, but that's the only way we could really reasonably do this. To make it easy and fair for everybody. And so, for the people out there who are like having a problem with that, I would say get over it.
Well, I will tell you this. This particular race is about the people. It's not about the cars. Wally Parks in the early days of NHRA, and for years and years and years, his mantra was that the cars are the stars. And the reality of the situation is most people don't buy tickets to watch cars race. Most people buy tickets to watch people race. And I have always said, if you give me Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Truex, and 4 go-karts, I can sell 25,000 tickets in a Walmart parking lot. And people aren't coming to watch go-karts. They're coming to watch these 4 guys go at it. And that's what this whole deal is all about. It's not about the cars. It's about the people. You're coming to watch these people race one more time. And to me, it doesn't matter what they race. It's the fact that you get to see Garlits go up against Muldowney one more time.
You
get to see Bernstein and Amato one more time. And I think that's the important thing on this event.
And stick around. You'll hear Shirley Muldowney and Big Daddy Don Garlits just minutes from now. I even asked them if they happen to make it through first round, who would they love to see in the final if they made it that far? And you can imagine who they said. Alan, great job. Testing last week. We kind of did not get to it. You were out there and aware of what was going on out at Wild Horse Pass. I know that we've got Matt Hagan on the show also, so he's going to cover the whole 6-disc clutch test session from the DSR perspective. Jack Beckman had a big boomer. What else did you see out there at Wild Horse Pass that we may be needing to know about?
Well, it was just a basic test session. And interesting thing is you never really know what people are doing. I went down and talked to a couple of them during the course of the day. But at one point when I was talking to Jack Beckman, he kind of glanced over his shoulder and he said, I wonder what the Napa guys are testing this week. And it's a case that, they don't necessarily in a situation like that all get together and compare notes. So, but it was, some cars made some good clean runs. And like any basic test session, there was a lot of stuff that was half track, a lot of stuff that was early shut off. But I think, after the first couple of races of the year, there was a couple of teams that were looking for consistency. And the car that Jack was driving was a brand new car. It did not have the 19 model Hellcat body on it, but it was a new chassis that they wanted to get out and put a couple of runs on. And as you mentioned, it backfired and knocked the body off of it. But just your basic test days. Some guys made some really good runs, and some guys kind of left scratching their head. But that's what testing is all about.
There you go. Any final thoughts? I know we're getting ready for the Hatchlings this weekend at Gainesville Raceway. And again, I recommend everybody that's in the area, you go to this, especially Friday. And if you can't be there, watch on the stream. We got class eliminations for the Gatornationals this weekend. But what else is on your mind before we let you go as we're getting closer to the 50th?
Well, one thing that I do want to mention is this weekend, Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series, we had a divisional event at Tucson Dragway. It's the first time that the Lucas Series has been to Tucson Dragway since 2010. I believe there was 350-plus cars that came down. Great event. We had spectacular weather. It was mid-70s all weekend long. And Jim Hughes and Matt DeYoung really went out of their way to make the racers feel welcome and to get the place ready for it. But it was nice to have a divisional event back in my hometown, and it's also kind of nice to get to go to work and sleep in your own bed at the same time. I don't get to do that very often. So congratulations to everybody, the Tucson track that put that together. It was just great to see the Lucas Series come back to Tucson Dragway after 9-year absence.
That is great. No, it's great to have that facility. I've been there one time, and I thought, wow, man, this is a great little track to have as your home track. My goodness, it's awesome. And I was down in, Marana? I was down in Marana on that given Monday, just visiting some family. A beautiful part of the country, man. All those cacti, like growing up like a forest. And just if you're into, there's a solitude in the desert, but it's cool, especially if you have like a beer.
And as luck would have it, I do. So, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels to the other side of the country on your way to Gainesville, and I will hear you on the stream later this weekend, and then I will see you the following week at the Gatornationals.
Thanks, Joe. Looking forward to it. I will see you next week.
There he goes, the voice of the NHRA. Alan Reinhart joins us each week right here at the start of WFO Radio. Yes, the Baby Gators this weekend, the following week, the 50th. But we're going to get to Shirley and Big Daddy. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the fluff on this week's show. We got Matt Hagan, we got Frank Hawley, we got Big and Shirley. That's all you need to know, plus Johnny D from Drag Racing Edge. But right now, I want to tell you about motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan, it's a mail order business, and you need stuff shipped to your door. Why not go to the webpage right now? Right now. motorsportsguys.com. Check out the site. First of all, they've got Amalie Motor Oil, better than it has to be since 1903. They got the 70 weight with Molly. They got 2050. They got the weights that you need for your regular car or your race car. I know we got Top Fuel racers out there, right? Top Fuel racers listen to the show. Maybe they're not using Amalie, the PRO, professional racing oil. But I also know we have many listeners out there, casual people who are changing their own oil and doing their own things. Use motorsportsguys.com. They got all kinds of parts and pieces available that you need. If you're a racer, if you're a modified racer, you would be surprised. They've got parts and pieces for your vehicles too. So bookmark the site, motorsportsguys.com, check out what they've got, and start using them. And they still have that Vegas Win Tribute hat. If you add it to your purchase at checkout and use the promo code WFO, it will be free, which is really nice. You get a cool Terry McMillan Amalie Motor Oil hat for free because you're a WFO radio listener. Definitely try them out, motorsportsguys.com. And I'm already planning to have Terry on the show next week to talk about winning the Gatornationals, which is their goal. And if it were to happen, can we just fantasize for a second? You know, we love all the racers out there, and there's a great story behind every one of their victories. But with Terry having won the U.S. Nationals, for him to win the Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals in the home state of Amalie, when they've invested so much in the race and him over this career, like, I don't know, I think Terry would totally break down. I think it would be the greatest moment behind the birth of his son and getting married and winning the U.S. Nationals. Right there. It will be great. We'll talk to him next week about maybe achieving that moment because the car is running. But when we come back, we're going to dive right back into it with two of the ultimate legends of drag racing, period, Shirley Muldowney and Big Daddy Don Garlits on the WFO Radio NHRA Nitro podcast. Subscribe.
This is WFO Radio.
Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hangstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series, or sportsman racers in the Racing RV's Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hangstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. Metalworking lubricants, coolants, all kinds of stuff. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hangstafers.com to find out more information. Alan Reinhart always says, like, the one thing that DSR and JFR have in common is Hangstafers metalworking lubricants. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hangstafers metalworking lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hussey Performance copper head gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors, Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292, Hussey Performance, copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Podcast listenership has exploded across the world, whatever the subject, whether people are talking sports and they're talking politics and they're talking about crafting and they're doing all kinds of podcasts. There's hundreds of podcasts about how to do a podcast. There's just so much. WFO Radio and the NHRA Nitro podcast has been going for 10 years. We started when very few people were podcasting. Very few people had mobile devices. Twitter and Instagram didn't even exist. WFO Radio was here. And we're very thrilled to be going for 10 years in what is becoming a very crowded field. And people are asking me all the time, like, everybody is starting a podcast. Is that good or bad for you? And I want everybody to know, first of all, it's great. There are hundreds of people, thousands of people in our motorsports community that don't know even how to get to a podcast. And the more people that are helping them figure it out, are the more people that are going to find all of us. And here, especially on WFO Radio. But it has always been our goal to bring you cutting-edge, timely, cool, factual, fun information. And what we've got coming up next, Big Daddy and Shirley, on the day that they were voted by the fans to have to race each other in unfinished business, is just great stuff. And that's what WFO Radio Podcast is all about. Hopefully you will subscribe and write us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we've got great sponsors, and I keep telling you about, like, the folks at Magic Dry, magicdryus.com. Go to that website. 100% organic. It's a multi-purpose absorbent, and it's the official organic absorbent of the NHRA. Why? Well, it's made of coconut. Nothing else, just coconut. And, yeah, that's the genius of Tommy Thompson and this team. And they got Scott Palmer out on the track, and Dom Lagana is going to be running at the Gatornationals partially because of the folks at Magic Dry, and they're supporting Arizona Nationals, and Cat Spot Litter is on board with the Northwest Nationals, and this company is really investing in NHRA drag racing, and they are supporting WFO Radio as well, and I am thrilled. So if you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, if you've got an industrial oil drilling platform, if you are something big, Magic Dry can help you out because it's 100% all natural and 100% organic. It's biodegradable and environmentally friendly because it's made of coconuts. It absorbs 560% of its weight in liquid. MagicDryUS.com. Go there, order now if this is your deal. Or maybe you've got a cat and you're like, man, I don't need Magic Dry, but I do have a cat. Then you would go to catspotlitter.com. Either way, we would encourage you to support these companies because they support WFO Radio directly, and they support NHRA drag racing. And we're thrilled, and we want to see them succeed. Way to go, magicdryus.com. All right, Joining us now, she is the ultimate NHRA top fuel legend. She blazed a trail and won championships, and now she's back for some unfinished business. Joining us now, Shirley Muldowney. Shirley, welcome back to WFO Radio Podcast. How are you?
I'm great now that I get to talk to you. Thank you.
Oh, that's so kind of you. All right, Shirley, the fans have spoken, and rightfully so. They have stated they want to see you and Big Daddy one more time at the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals. What do you think about racing Garlits, even if it is in a regular car?
Well, I kind of hoped it would be a clutch car because they're easier to drive on the lights, but I'm told they're going to just stick with automatic transmission. So I don't know. I depends on what kind of a car they're going to let me drive.
I think they are. I believe that they are identically prepared Toyota Camrys.
Really?
Yes. That is the official car of the NHRA, and also readily available and pretty similar in their tune-up. So,
yeah, well, I have to take your word for it, okay?
Oh, don't take my word for it, for anything, ever. Just in case, because I don't want to be there. But I'm so excited about this, Shirley. First of all, I'm excited about the 50th Gatornationals, a race that you have won several times. And I was there when you and Big Daddy ran in the final round in 1982. Like, I still remember that. What do you remember from that day?
I was in the right lane, and opposed to, left or right. I had the right side of the racetrack. We felt that was definitely an advantage. I went in thinking, I've got this. I'm going to win this hands down. So I remember Wally Parks standing on watch on the top of the tower, kind of looked down and gave me the old up sign. I think he was rooting for the pink car.
Just so cool. But not everybody was. You were in the land of Garlits. You were just a little bit north. And, in many ways, I know you've got fans everywhere, but that's going into Big Daddy's home territory.
That's Garlits country. And I think we mixed it up with a couple of fans throughout that day. We had to just kind of put a few in their place. Well, I think one was ushered out of the complex. It was kind of very interesting. When you get into Garlits country, you're every man for himself.
So true. I think that's just true about North Florida, actually, just with everybody and everything, but a different story. And remember, the scoreboard was out, and even being a little kid watching, and hearing the interviews and the back and forth that you guys used to have, there was. There are no greater rivalries that may equal this one, but no greater rivalry.
It was a true dynamo rivalry. I mean, we tossed it around throughout the whole year, several years actually, but 82 was the beginning of a championship year, and we were looking to win it, bring it home. And luckily, we pulled all the right numbers throughout the year, and we did win the championship. But Gainesville was very important to that race. It sets the pace for the entire season, and you can go into that because you have such good conditions there, and Nitro cars really run well at Gainesville.
And this year, of course, we've got a brand new all-concrete surface that I'm hoping allows the teams to really get after it and maybe put Gainesville back in that record track kind of form that you just described.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of good things about that racetrack. One of them is the length of the track. You don't have to worry about running out of real estate, but it's there was always good traction there. I'm not so sure they needed to do that, but one good thing about it is concrete A to Z, and that definitely is an advantage. Let's see what the cars do if they're not going to run any real performance cars before that race. It might be a little bit of a tug.
Yeah.
So tug of war is what I'm referring to.
It'll be interesting. They're going to have alcohol cars on it, but it's just not the same. Now, do you remember the first time you went to Gainesville? Because it, kind of a cool track, but also in the middle of nowhere. I can imagine. I guess it was built in 1969. There was a points race. There were the Turkey Trots and then the Gatornationals in 1970. Oh. The first experience for Shirley at Gainesville Raceway.
I think it was 1973, if I remember right. I would have been there in a funny car. So I obviously didn't win. I'm not so sure what kind of a performance we produced or how lucky we were, but I think it was 73, my first attempt.
And the rest is history. 50 years of anything, especially in drag racing, is a big, big deal. We've made a big deal about this race and the milestone of getting to the event. And from what I can tell, every legend that can be there is going to be there. People are excited about this, Shirley.
I know they are. I just watch my Facebook, and a lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of advice. I'm hoping Garlits doesn't weld me on the starting line. He has had some experience the last years with a door car, as I refer to them, and he has that Chrysler car that he's run. I'm not so sure what he's done lately, but he's had some experience. I haven't been to the starting line but once in 13 years, so I'm going to have to brush up on my skills. I'll definitely be standing there watching the tree.
Okay, that you bring up an excellent point that I wanted to ask you. You're like one of the greats of all time, so asking like silly questions is the last thing I want to do. But like first of all, like I wonder about this, Shirley. Okay, Snake's in this, Ed the Ace.
Oh,
this is it's a promotional thing and it's really for the fans. But at the same time, you guys are going to roll to the starting line. You're going to look across the track, and inside that vehicle is going to be Big Daddy Don Garlits. So,
yes,
of course, you want to win. How seriously do you think these legends, yourself included, ultimately are going to take this?
I think it'll be a real dogfight, but just depending on what's the purse. I did not find out what the purse was. That may make a difference between the mindset amongst the drivers.
There you go. I
think am I putting you on the spot?
You are totally putting me on the spot, but the good news is that I don't have the information. My opinion is that it is ultimate bragging rights for the rest of history, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Would you, under the right circumstances, and more importantly, do you think others will be practicing? Like go get a rental car and go out to a track.
Yeah,
and
that's possible. Sure, I wouldn't you never put anything past a drag racer. They find a way. They somehow find a way. It's the best description I have. But I'm going to just go with the flow and see what happens. Looking forward to seeing a lot of my friends and get some sun for a while.
There you go.
It's going to be a great day. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that is awesome. Now, recently you did a piece on Competition Plus. Bobby Bennett is a friend of the show and a big supporter of our WFO podcast from the beginning, and we always promote his Legends this series. And watching that, I couldn't help but feel for the struggle of what it was to do what you did when you did it. I know you did it for the love and for many other reasons, but man, looking back, it was a tough road.
Yeah, I didn't realize then what it was going to be, and it's changed in so many ways. I'd like to think that I think the fact that I hung in there and helped myself along the way, it was the right thing to do, and I'm just glad that I had the strength and the willpower, and it was the right move. I wouldn't trade it for anything, truthfully.
What would your life have been was there another direction? Was there a backup plan? Was there something else that you thought, maybe I should do that? What would you have been if you were not a drag racer?
I don't know. I was a kid with not a lot of direction, and there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for me as a youngster, and then I got into my teens, and then I found the local hot rod, and that's what I went with at a very young age, and never realizing what it was all going to turn into. And it was somehow I made the right decision for once.
Yeah, well, thank goodness. You've got many generations of fans who are super excited just to see you. Whether it be one of the track walks we do, or you have some of the most popular ones where people get to be up close and with Shirley. You've got current racers that love you, and you have some racers you currently love. Let's get your opinions on the start of the season. Matt Hagan picking up the win. Are you still a diehard Matt Hagan fan?
Yes, you just took the words right away from me. Yes, I'm definitely that's a car that I watch with great interest. I'm the biggest fan in the world, Matt Hagan. So he's obviously my pick for funny car, and I kind of hope that Tony Schumacher would get it together. I don't think it's going to be as exciting a class without him. So hopefully, maybe they'll get something put together and get him some sponsorship, get him out there. He would be my pick in Top Fuel.
Totally agree. Well, listen, I love hearing the fact that you agree, because we need Tony out there. I guess we don't call him the Sarge anymore, but we got to get Tony out there. But
that's okay.
Yeah,
he's a lot of people. They kind of spill over with the greatest driver, the absolute, wonderful one, and whatever. I wouldn't say that Tony. He's just consistent. That's where he shines as far as I watch the stats. He just, he's had his share of wins, but he's basically very consistent. You know what you're going to get if the car is there for him. And that's why I say he's probably, no doubt, the best Top Fuel driver out there today.
Awesome stuff. Okay, Shirley, I don't want to get too out in front of our skis or over our hood, but we already know you got Garlits first round, okay? So let's just take a second to consider you have a great day. Everything goes your way, right? You make it to the final. Who would you like it to be against? You got all these guys, Bernstein, Amato, which you've had your share against, Snake, Ace, Warren Johnson, the guy won 9 times in Pro Stock. There's a lot of people rooting for those Pro Stock guys. Terry Vance, a motorcycle guy. Your thoughts?
Well, they may shine, the Pro Stock guys.
Yes,
because that's the type of car that they're familiar with. I'm a fuel driver. That's all I know. So I have to engineer something into this ride. We'll see. But it's an automatic. I wish it was a standard shift. That would stick shift. That would appeal to me more than the automatic ride. It's just it is what it is, and it's like a crapshoot. So who would I want to race in the final? I would have hoped it would have been Garlits, but the way they set it up, it can't be. So first round's going to be exciting. I'd like to race Prudhomme. I hope I get a chance to come alongside of him. And then I have to listen to him beat me up for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's great that you guys have that kind of relationship, though. Like, we think that is awesome. Like, it's fun, watching a little back and forth. Hey, Shirley, you could always neutral drop it. I mean, I'm not recommending you do that to one of the Toyotas, but I guess you could.
Well, I'm going to see Erica and ask her to help me a little bit.
There it is. Call going out.
Some pointers. Some way, somehow, I've got to get an advantage. We'll see. Just maybe they'll be spooked right from the beginning. I don't think so, though.
Right. Ice on the intake, inflate those, rear tires. When we see people's cars start disappearing for like an hour or two, like, where did that car go? Where are those cars? Okay. We know where they're going to be. Hey, Shirley, thank you.
All be under lock and key, yes.
There it is. Thank you very much for making a little time for us here on WFO Podcast. Of course, we wanted to see you and Big Daddy in the final round, but there's no guarantee that would have happened. This way, at very least, we get to see this one more time, and it's just so exciting.
Maybe. You never know in this world. Never know. I'm full of surprises.
If it's super popular, you guys could take this show on the road, right? Do like 4 of 7 at tracks around the country.
I don't think so. No, I just, I still am a fuel driver, and that's where my heart is, and that's where I think I excel. And I had a couple of chances to drive outdoor cars in the last 13 years, and I kind of didn't. I didn't take it real serious, and when it didn't happen, I was kind of over it. But any chance to get out there on the starting line, but I would want to go where I'd be most happy.
Well, that makes sense. That's your comfort zone. That's what you do. I at the same time, just from a fan perspective, I would love to see you out there running anything. I mean, here we are. You're going to be in a road car, and look how excited everybody is. And so if you, whatever you ran, whatever it was, whatever,
that's cool.
It would be a fun moment to see you out there, feeling competitive again. I think that's what we want to see.
Believe me, I get it. But a lot of fans ask me, beg me, please come back out. Please, give us a ride. No, I don't think so, guys. My wallet couldn't hold up under the strain.
No.
So, I get to, I don't have to wear a hot fire suit anymore. There's a lot of advantages to what I used to do, and it has its disadvantages too. So I'm just happy to be a part of the sport in any fashion.
Shirley, finally, unfinished business. Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals, 50th edition. Do you remember those old commercials that used to air around the country promoting the match races? They would always be like a little quote from Garlits or from you, to kind of barb the other. Do you have a message for Big Daddy you want to put out there right now about this race?
Well, just hold on, because I'm going to be serious. I can't be anything but. We're going to wait and see what happens, and I just hope I'm there when the day is done. That's all.
That was very diplomatic of you, Shirley. I appreciate that. Thank you for making the time for us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley Muldowney. Let's hear from the other side of this first-round matchup. We've got him from the Museum of Drag Racing. By the way, folks, if you're headed to Gainesville, you must stop at the Museum of Drag Racing in Ocala, Florida. It is 1 hour south of Gainesville. It is no big deal. You got to go. Joining us now, the man, Big Daddy Don Garlits. Don, welcome back to WFO Podcast. You and Shirley one more time.
I never thought it would happen. I figured our days of racing were over, long gone.
You guys have done this so many times in so many places for so many different stakes. Now, I know that these are just regular cars, right? They're not dragsters, and, you guys really can't do much to affect the performance, but still, you're going to be staging up against Shirley. Like, what does that do for you?
Well, it means I got to be on my toes, because she always had the killer instinct. That's why she was a champion. She didn't come out to race for fun. And when you went to the line with her, you better have your shit together.
I just asked her if she had a message for you, like those old school commercials, like, I'm going to send him back to the swamp, that kind of stuff. And she was actually very cool and respectful. She just wanted me to let you know that she was going to take it seriously. So to be ready.
Well, she took every race she ever was in seriously. We would go to some little match race in Podunk, and I'd want to cut everything back and make some money. And no, it was full ahead, nitro in the tank, let it eat. And I'm sure that's just exactly how she feels right now.
Well, she did mention.
So
Go ahead.
I got to do the best I can.
Now, what do you think about the the prospects of the vehicle? She did already suggest that you have a little more experience in, real cars, that she's a top fuel racer only, but she mentioned your drag pack, and she did suggest that you've got some recent experience that may make a difference in this.
Well, I don't go for that. I mean, if you're a racer till the day you die, and it's just stomp the pedal. I just hope those Toyotas got some decent material under that accelerator pedal in the floorboard, because we'll be putting our foot through it if it ain't.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I'm wondering.
The top fuel dragsters had special throttle pedals, so you could just stomp them to death, without destroying the car. I hope they got these Toyotas fixed for that, because every one of these guys are going to stomp down on it like nothing like you've ever seen.
And that's my wonder. Snake, this guy's super cool, and Ed the Ace, obviously, and Warren Johnson. The trying to make the car go quicker part of it is not even there. This is a show for the fans. Yet and still, this is the 50th Gator Nationals, and you guys are racing each other, and nobody wants to lose. So, how do you handle all of that?
Well, I will say this: it definitely has put a lot of pressure on me. I always go to the Gator Nationals just kind of nonchalant. I go up there and sign autographs, cackle a car. It's been a few years since I was actually in a race with my stalkers. And that goes way back, 2011, I think. So maybe it was 12. That's a long time ago. That I don't think that counts for much. It's just going to be pressure because it's a serious race. I never wanted to lose to Shirley, and Shirley never wanted to lose to me. Let's
assume I asked her the same questions. I asked both of you the same questions just to keep it fair. You were to have the great skill and ability to get by Shirley in the first round. You got a lot of cool legends that you may want to race. Let's say the final round comes up. Is there someone you'd like to race in the final round to win this whole thing?
Yeah, it'd be the Snake.
Garlits and the Snake. Man, I'm excited just hearing about it.
I never wanted to lose to him either.
Oh, I can imagine. Now, I asked Shirley to recount the 1982 final round. We all know how that turned out. But what was your side of that story? Obviously, you run it up, and that was not optimal. But tell me about your day.
It was my own stupidity. I changed the engine before the final round because we had a bad piston. The damn engine in the trailer had been sitting there for months riding around, and I thought for a moment we ought to take the intake manifold off and just take a look. And Tommy said, "Nah, it's okay," and I went with it. But deep inside, I actually felt I should take that manifold off, and it had a bad intake gasket on it. Went on 7 cylinders. Not making any excuses. It was my fault. I should have never done that.
Wow. No, that's great. Listen, to hear the version of the story, Daryl Gwynn and I were just having a conversation. We did a video the other day to talk about this. And I mentioned that you changed. I was 9 years old, Don. But I remembered you changed engines before the final round, and it didn't quite run the same as it did the rest of the day. And unfortunate.
Yeah, it was the 7-cylinder one. It got off good. Got a good start, but then it just dropped it. It was too bad.
Let's talk about a different day where you broke 270 miles per hour in Swamp Rat 30. And you went on to win the event. And in my opinion, capping like this unbelievable, career, coming back to the Gator Nationals and winning in 1986.
Yeah, it was quite a race. Oh, the one thing I always remember about that race, when I outran Pastorini, I think, in the semifinal, and I ran like a 6:40, and he was so pissed. I'm sick and tired of these 6:40s. I'll go to my grave remembering that.
Well, don't go too soon, Don. We want to see unfinished business. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Of course, all you've done for the sport of NHRA drag racing. I think this is a lot of fun, too. You guys didn't have to agree to this. You did because it's going to be fun, and we're all going to be all over it. Okay, so I'm going to give you the same opportunity I gave Shirley. Do you have a message for Shirley Muldowney? Something you want her to hear about your first-round race at unfinished business at the Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals?
This race will be won at the flash of green because the cars are supposed to be equal. So leave good, Shirley.
There you go. Don, thank you so much. Hey, once again, everybody, Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing. Big, what do you got going on in the museum? I know you sometimes rotate some things in and out. I know you've got the Electric Dragster Project. You got a lot of stuff going on, but just I would like for my listeners to swing by the museum. What will they see?
Well, we're going to have Swamp Rat 38 will be coming up to the Gainesville to be certified, the chassis. That's the electric dragster.
Oh, wow. Great.
But, we're always doing stuff here, moving stuff around. If you haven't been here in a year or so, you'll enjoy yourself.
Excellent, excellent. I encourage everybody to go. Don, thank you so much. I will see you at Gainesville Raceway. Good luck against Shirley Muldowney, round 1, NHRA Unfinished Business. Thank you for making the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Don. Big Daddy Don Garlits, preceded by Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney. It says it right on the grandstand. She says it's okay now. How cool is that? What more can I say? Shirley and Big, back to back. Shirley and Big going to race each other. And she's already talking about, he's got a little more experience, and she's going to go to Erica, and Erica hopefully will help her, and I know Erica is going to help her, and it's going to be a zoo out on the starting line. And I know what you're thinking to yourselves, like, what did they say again to each other? And I asked Shirley, I said, Shirley, you got a message for Garlits, and this was it.
Well, just hold on, because I'm going to be serious. I can't be anything but. We're going to wait and see what happens, and I just hope I'm there when the day is done. That's all.
Shirley wants to win this race, but what about Big Daddy? What's he got to say to Shirley Muldowney?
This race will be won at the flash of green, because the cars are supposed to be equal. So leave good, Shirley.
Leave good, Shirley. Icons of motorsport battling again. I could not be more excited about this. I'm hoping that the Camrys are in fact equal, and we can get some great racing. And of course, Snake and Ed the Ace, and just all the matchups are great. And if you haven't seen the video on NHRA.com and all the social media, check it out. Daryl Gwynn, the honorary Grand Marshal, and myself revealing your votes, and it was pretty cool under the beautiful South Florida sky, which I'll talk to John DiBartlomeo about a little bit later on in the show. When we come back, it's going to be Matt Hagan, followed by Frank Hawley, and then Johnny D from Drag Racing Edge magazine. Hopefully you're subscribed to Drag Racing Edge, and if you're not already, we'll talk about reasons you should. Simple as that. But right now, I want to tell you about samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. And in addition to the block, head, and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport EFI tuning and an Associate of Applied Science degree. They're a military-friendly school. So if you're just getting out of the military, you got the GI Bill, you're approved to train veterans. They are approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today. And, of course, tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. And remember, the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. Factory stock is coming back. Factory stock. Everybody's buzzing about it. Everybody's talking about it. In many ways, it is a throwback to the legends of the past, where win on Sunday, sell on Monday actually mattered. Samtech Factory Stock Showdown. And if you want to be on one of those teams, a great place to get your initial education is samtech.edu. Check them out and stick around WFO Radio for more and soon information regarding factory stock. We'll be back with Matt Hagan after this.
It ain't just wide open, it's WFO.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman.
Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
Android and iPhone users, download the WFO Radio app. It's sports radio for racing fans.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The ultimate racing show, including WFO Radio NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio Ignition, the WFO Radio NASCAR Tailgate Party, news, videos, push notifications, and more.
I just hope I'm part of it.
Go to the App Store or Android Market, search WFO Radio, and download it now.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radio. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine.
What is this? This is WFO Radio.
You are Matt Hagan out, head to toe, diehard Matt Hagan.
Well, I needed a hero, but I just couldn't find one that met my standards, that I thought had it all, everything about him. Plus, he's the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life.
Matt Hagan, Shirley Muldowney approved.
Hi, this is Matt Hagan. You're listening to WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio podcast. Been going for 10 years, and hopefully everybody is subscribed. We have a mobile application that is free, and everything that we've got is on there, right? iOS and Android, mobile application. You can share on your social media, but the Apple Podcast Catcher that is on your phone, Podcast Catcher, what is that? It's an app specifically for podcasts. That thing works so great. It's right with your phone. It gives you there's a new episode. It tells you automatically. So I love our app. We send out push notifications. You get all kinds of extra information. But if you just subscribe on your mobile device right now using Apple Podcasts or however you get your podcasts, you will not miss a show. And I highly recommend you do not miss any shows because good stuff is coming up. But right now I want to tell you about RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Oh, yeah. Marvin Rodak, my buddy in Fort Worth, Texas. If you're down there in Texas, you should have gone by Marvin's place by now, just to check out all the grills and the coffee and the hot sauces and spice rubs and all of this wonderful stuff. Because summer is coming. I know a lot of people are freezing out there, but it's time to stock up with all your grilling needs from RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. And yes, I'm sure you've got a big box store somewhere nearby that's got something that they're passing off that they think is good, but it's not. And that's the deal. There are certain people who are just better at what they do. And Marvin Rodak is one of those people. They've got the drag racing themed blends of coffee like Funny Car Chaos and WFO Radio and the Schumacher Champion Blend and all of these things. Here's the number. I'm going to give it to you, my friends. 817. Yeah, write it down. 817-924-6821. Okay? 817-924-6821. You got it memorized. You put it in your phone. Give Marvin a call. Try something that he offers. One bottle of hot sauce. The habanero endorphin booster of whichever hot sauce you choose. The coffee. The spice rub. It's all fantastic. The guy's a huge supporter of WFO Radio for a long, long time. And if you're in the area, I would go by there and buy a grill. That's what I would do. 817-924-6821. That's RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. All right. Get back into it. Joining us now, he was the funny car winner out there at the Arizona Magic Dry Arizona Nationals. And we didn't have him on last week because he had something really cool he was doing on the weekend. And now we get to debrief with him, being Matt Hagan. Matt, welcome to WFO. First time, 2019. Congratulations.
2019 WFO, right? That's pretty cool. Yeah, Joe, it's always great to be on your show, brother. And yeah, we did really well out there in Phoenix. Had a phenomenal car, man. Like we went down the racetrack, I think, every time, man. Even on Friday when no one else could get down. And some races you can't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? And some races you just can't do anything right. And I think that was one of our races that we just had a great car. Dickie had a great handle on it, and the car was responding to our changes, and it was running really good, man. I mean, I think we qualified 2 or 3. I don't know what it was, but Top number 2. Okay, yeah, top of the pack right there. And honestly, I would rather qualify 2 or 3 than I would number 1. I know that number 1 is prestigious and everybody wants a green hat, but it just seems like that we do better and win more races in the ladder in the bracket that we do when we end up 2 or 3. So it's kind of wild. But anyway, that being said, the car was just running great, and Dickie, he won this race. It's one of those things where I just didn't mess it up, man. We had a great race car underneath me, and it was going down the racetrack, and I was just keeping it in the groove. And it was kind of pretty wild because the lights were so long. I seemed like I got caught with lights up there. It's on a computer deal, but it's just my lights all Sunday were super long, and you go like, go, oh, don't go, and then you're going like, and then you go, and then you're up there thinking about it. And my lights were like 80, 90s, but I'm used to being like 50s and 60s on race day, so I really felt like I was struggling bringing that aspect of the game to the table. And we had a great race car to where, I feel like I got treated a time or 2 or whatever it may be. And we still were able to run fast enough to turn the wind light on. And, and in the final, obviously I stepped up and I had, a 43 light or whatever it was. And he had a 70 something, but that's the final, man. Like you're like, let's go, let's do this. You're up, you know what I mean? Like you're here, and now we're running for money and a trophy and prestige and respect and all that kind of stuff. So I guess if you're ever going to get up, is the time to do it is in the final. But just can't say enough about our group and our guys and the way Dickie handled the race car.
That is great. And yeah, it's the final round. Like you roll it in a situation like that. There's been a lot over the last year or 2. It's the final round. Lane choice doesn't matter. Nobody cares. They want you to get to the finish line first. ET doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Getting from here to there first at the flashy yellow matters. So does Matt Hagan roll it in, or does Matt Hagan do the same thing every time?
Yeah, I think you always in the final are in a little bit, no matter what. But I try not to get out of my routine of what I do, because what happens is you go up there thinking about, hey, I'm going to stick it in 2 or 3 numbers, and then you're just not used to that, and you're not normal. You're not, so like if I'm in, I'm usually a number or something like that, maybe 100 or something. But it's just, you pull the brake back and let it go, and then grab the brake again, and wherever it falls, it falls. It's just one of those things where you don't want to get so much outside of what your norm is and your routine to where you go like, okay, now am I in too deep? And if I leave too soon, is it going to go red or whatever it may be? So I really try hard to just try to do the same thing all the time. And honestly, keeping lane choice is huge during the weekend. So, during Sunday, I know for a fact I've won more races, and my team has won more races by having lane choice and being thin up there on the starting line than I ever have off of reaction time or rolling it in deep just to make it look like I'm a good lever or something like that. So I would just assume get left on or something like that and own it than I would lose lane choice and not be in a lane that we can get down a racetrack on the next round, just because I couldn't check my ego at the door and wanted to look like I was a better leader or something like that. So it comes down to just teamwork and knowing that your crew chief's going to put a good car underneath you, and making sure that you're confident enough to go up there and leave and do your job, and that momentum and confidence, you grow it together.
Got it, and it makes perfect sense. Now I felt like you were going to win the race when you got down the track on Friday night. I didn't know it at the time.
Really?
Well, I didn't know it at the time, but as things began to develop, like, how did they do that? And it seems like you guys didn't even know how you did that either. I talked to your guys. I talked to Alex and Knutson, and those guys like, it was not supposed to do that. I mean, it went, and it did it.
Sometimes being lucky is better than being good. I think if the wind would have blown the wrong direction, that thing would have came loose. But just going up there with what Dickie felt like he could get down the racetrack with, and it ended up working out. But a lot of it had to do with, we did the burnout in the same place that we ran, where a lot of guys weren't doing that, and we were way up on tire pressure and some different things. They made some real big changes right there at the last minute that really, I think, helped our car get down through there. And then being able to burn out to where I really wanted to run and keeping the car straight on the burnout and stuff like that helps out as well. So, just little things like that here and there kind of play into us being able to get down where, other people were going up there and missing it, so to speak. But it had a lot to do with that track, and being cold, and then the new tire dragger that they had out there, which, was peeling rubber up and just not productive in any way, shape, or form. And then, what was really wild and cool to see is that, our team owners, Colettas and Schumacher and Forces and everybody else, they were like, we're not running our junk down this track, man. Like it costs us money to be up here, and if it's not going to be prestige and put on a good show for our fans, then we're pulling out of the lanes, So I was like, good for you guys, you know what I mean, to band together and have a plan and say, look, unless it's just right, we're not going to spend our money and waste our time up here and waste our fans' time.
To listen, at that moment, to be in the moment and watch it all happen, the collaboration that happened, look, I think it was for the best at the time, and we had a really strong Saturday and Sunday. All right, but you stuck around for Monday for testing, and the 6-disc clutch was the subject. I want to know how the test went, just so everybody understands. Over many, many years, there was an evolution to the 6-disc clutch. But last year in the NHRA, they changed the track prep situation, the formulation, and the compound. It was much less sticky out there. And so a lot of people, including all the DSR funny cars, went back to the 5-disc clutch because there was a lot of data that was available to navigate, but you guys decided and are in the process of evaluating going back to the 6-disc clutch. How did that test session go? Give me some of the methodology behind wanting to run the 6-disc and how to go.
Yeah, so honestly, if our test session had gone poorly, I think we'd have a lot better direction, but we just had an amazing test session on Monday, putting the 6-disc in there. Dickie just kind of revamped of what he was doing with the 6-disc. So here's the deal, and I'm just being as honest as I possibly can because we owe that to our fans and we owe it to everybody else. But the thing about the 5-disc is when it goes out there, we're going down the racetrack with it. We just won with it, but what happens is it welds really hard in the middle. So when the clutch comes 1-to-1 and welds, it tries to pick the front end back up. It moves the car around. I have to make a correction out there. So it's really tough because it tries to pull the tires loose out there because it comes in and like the motors come running away, and then the clutch grabs the motor and it goes and locks up and goes 1-to-1. And when that happens, it just, we see the most G-forces on the run out there in the middle, the tire temperature spikes, all that kind of stuff. Now, we got away with it all day Sunday, but in Pomona and Pomona 1, Pomona last year, Pomona 1 this year, we had a great race car, and it goes out there and it's weld. We're getting away with it. And then, E1, it welds and knocks the tires loose and we lose around, So it's bit us a couple times already with the 5-disc, even though our I guess other crew chiefs are running it in our camp and doing okay with it, but they're struggling with some of the same issues with that, and trying to manage that out there in the middle. Well, with the 6-disc, obviously last year, with track prep and all this other stuff, we were running this thing wide open and hard and just didn't do enough. During race conditions, you're really afraid to pull back too much or do this or change that too much. Whereas test sessions, you can really make huge swings. And we went out there and testing on Monday and put the 6-disc in, and Dickie just revamped the whole thing, man. Like he just 180 of the way we used to run this thing, and we really had a great test session with the 6-disc, and it just doesn't weld out there in the middle, and he seems to have a real handle on it at that racetrack anyway, for our test session. But so it made it really tough Monday evening, sitting down in our group meeting going like, well, what do we do now? So that's Dickie's decision. That's Don Schumacher's decision on what they want to go and what direction they are. I mean, I'm going to put my mouthpiece in and hopefully leave on time and keep it in the group no matter what we got in there in the bell housing. But it's just cool to be up there and see it all progress and the data and looking at all that kind of stuff and knowing, what we're trying to do and the goals we're trying to accomplish. But yeah, I think that, if we would have had a bad test session after Monday, then it would be a no-brainer. But we just had an amazing test session. The car went down the racetrack every time in testing and ran really, really good. They had some messed up clocks out there, so it didn't really show what we were running, but we just really, really had a great session. So it'll be interesting to see what Dickie wants to do coming into Gainesville. I know there's going to be some new racing surface out there, so I feel like he'll probably have the 5-disc in to start out with just to make sure that things are moving forward and everything's okay. And then who knows from there, man. Like, it's just always interesting to see that guy's wheels turn and the direction he goes in. But one thing about it, looking at, what we've accomplished together, that was my 30th win. I think like 28 or 26 with him or something like that. And that put us, the tied me, I guess, 8th or 9th or something for all-time winning driver and funny car right there with Bernstein. And and that's all been with Dickie, really. I've had a few wins with Tommy Delago, I think 4 over a couple of years, but the amount of time I've spent with Dickie and the success that we've had has just been phenomenal. So whatever that guy decides to do, I'm gonna stand behind it, and like I said, strap down tight and hang on, man.
That's great. No, listen, I was going to ask you, so like, what do you want to do? But you kind of answered, like, whatever Dickie wants to do as we head into what many people might consider the biggest race of the year. I want your opinion about the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals. You mentioned the new surface. Everybody talking about this race, probably the most hyped race that has ever been when it comes to drag racing, because we've been promoting it for a solid year, and they are on the verge of having sold like every ticket in the place. Some tickets are still available. We got that unfinished business thing that's going to happen. I'm going to ask you about it, but just like, how do you view this event going in? Like, how big is this for you? There's probably going to be a lot of special stuff.
Yeah, Gainesville is always a huge event. It's the first real East Coast race, and everybody gets a little warm weather and they want to see some drag racing, and everybody comes out, and it's always been a big race. And I haven't won games. I ran it up last year there, and Jack beat me in the final. And, so I got really close and got a little taste of maybe winning Gainesville, but I just haven't put that Wally on the shelf yet, so it would be a huge event for me to be able to pull down a win and, keep some momentum going and stuff like that. But, it's the 50th anniversary. It's the racetrack has so much history and so many great legends that have been up and down it, and to add your name to being a part of that would be phenomenal, obviously. But it's drag racing, brother, and it's a fuel car, and you don't know what the hell you're going to get from lap to lap, much less race to race. And so we're going to go in there hopefully with a good game plan and try to put on the best show that we can for our fans. That's the thing. Like, Friday was kind of a wild session, and it wasn't a great show for our fans, but NHRA came back out there and they glued the track right, and they made sure that we were going to put on a great show for our fans on Saturday and Sunday. And I felt like that we did, and we had some great side-by-side racing, and our fans got their money worth. And so I'm looking forward to that here in Gainesville.
Yeah. And as you mentioned Gainesville, I kind of flash back to what happened to you and Robert side by side last year. One of the most dramatic moments ever, both.
I forgot about that. Don't mention that, man. It hurts to think about it, but
right?
No, it was pretty wild, man. Like, it was super dramatic to blow up side by side. I think that's one of the first times it's really ever kind of really happened, or I don't know about ever, these are fuel cars. They blow up all the time, but it was wild because, he blew up and then I blew up, and then, he's in there behind me and he reels it back in there, and instead of running over top of me, he gets it back in his lane. And, it was just like, oh man, this is all crazy. And then I'm like, who won? Like, we're both blowed up and we wasted a lot of money, but who got the win light, and we ended up turning the win light on, but it hurts your feelings, and it hurts those parts when it does stuff like that.
It was really cool, though. I have a couple of moments that I am happy about that I got to witness. That's one of them. To be there right in front of you when you were like, who won? Like, looking into your eyes as you're trying to figure out what just happened and who won the race. Like, I felt like that, man, this guy's a real competitor. He's not concerned about anything other. You knew you were okay, and you saw Robert, and so
I knew Robert was okay. Then I was like, well, what do we do? We're out here racing, man. Like, who turned this win light on, because I'm going to be really upset if we just did this and my boys had all this work and we don't have nothing to show for it,
Yeah, and also when Don came around and you were like, hey, boss, I'm sorry this happened, and he's like, no, man, don't worry about it. Like, that was a real genuine moment. I'm real happy I got to see. All right, next, you went to the NASCAR race in Vegas. You and Leah were the co-Grand Marshals because it was the Pennzoil 400. You guys did the driver start your engines thing. Tell me about your experience. Was it fun? How much fun it was? Like, seeing you like standing around next to the NASCAR guys it's beneficial for them to be smaller. You know what I mean? You're not trying to be smaller by any means. Tell me about your time out there. Was it fun? What'd you learn on the NASCAR side of the universe?
Man, it was a blast. Just the activation that Pennzoil has and bringing us out as drivers and even paying us to be there, man. I mean, it was just really cool. I was just, all around just great gig, and we really got to meet a lot of people. And then that Sunday, leading up to Gentlemen Start Your Engines, it was so chaotic and so much going on. But, and I don't really follow NASCAR very much because, with the businesses I have at home and my kids and family and racing and everything else, it's just, I don't have time I'm such a anti-male when it comes to, sports and everything else. Everybody's like, well, who's your favorite player? What's your favorite team? It's like, brother, I don't even watch TV, man. I just don't have time for it. But, it's one of those things to get to see some of that inside of that stuff and what those guys do, and the driver meetings, and then the on stage appearances and all that other stuff. It really put it in perspective how much those guys have got going on as well. And you think that they just fly in on a helicopter and jump in the race car and fly home, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? I do have a lot of respect for them. I tried a little circle track stuff, and then kind of growing up, and so I have a respect for those guys that turn left, because I understand rolling in and gut check and rolling out, and and just being in there and being able to go that aggressive and not spin it out, and the talent that it takes, and that's why I'm driving straight and not left, but I wasn't very talented going left, but just to see those guys on that level to what they do, and the respect that I have for them has been pretty cool. And I know a couple of those guys pretty closely. Clint Boyer, I was sponsored by Aaron's back in the day, and we've kind of become close a little bit. And he calls me up the other day. He's like, "Hey man, I need you to find me 50 cows," stuff like that. And just little things here and there. So it's nice to see that guy in his element, and kind of be out there like get out and go get him, brother. But just really neat, what Pennzoil has done for us and allowed us to cross promote, and how many drag racing fans were really at that NASCAR race was pretty awesome. We walked down the red carpet, and I feel like we signed as much, if not more, autographs than some of these NASCAR guys did. So it was just an awesome experience. Obviously, Vegas is a mess. That place. I don't think anybody sleeps in Vegas, but it was just a great experience, and to be able to be there with Pennzoil, and then Joey winning the whole race. Being the Pennzoil 400 and the Pennzoil car 1. I don't know how it gets much more special than that.
No, it doesn't. And I love seeing you guys there. You guys did a great job representing drag racing. In that, like when they show you and Leah as drag racers, here you got this one guy who's obviously very in shape, and you've got this beautiful girl, and you guys both run 330 miles per hour. Like, it just shatters any preconceived notion people might have about the sport, which I think is great.
No, it's awesome. But everybody was like, "Oh man, why wasn't it more exciting, more pumped up?" But you got to understand like how nervous you are up there. Like when you're just trying not to fumble the words. And I know it's only like a couple words, but it's more nerve wracking than it is anything. So it's especially when you got two people there saying
I'm
the same
glad
thing. You're trying to be in time and in sync with that and everything else, and you don't want to start before she does, and she doesn't want to start before you do, and it's just so I apologize that it wasn't more energetic and crazy or whatever, but you're just trying not to mess it up.
See, that's crazy.
It's your sponsor's race. Yeah, it's your sponsor's race, and they're they paid you to be out there and cross promote and do a good job and put on a presence. And so, like I said, I know that I'm on social media quite a bit, so I read a lot of the comments and stuff like that. So, everybody's like, "Oh, that was lame," or "Wow," but until you're sitting in there in that position and the camera's on you and that kind of stuff, then you can tell me what's what. But at the end of the day, it was a blessing, and we were trying to do the best job we could, and we were really grateful to be there.
You address it, just the fact that you address that, right? Like, I'm totally down with it. Like throwing out the first pitch. Like, until you go out and throw out the first pitch somewhere, you have no idea what you're doing. But the next time you and Leah do it, you guys will put a little more. I watched it, I thought about it, and I had that thing. All right, one more question for you, Matt. At the start of the show, we talked about NHRA Unfinished Business, which is a promotion of the 8 legends that are going to be at the Gatornationals. And your self-admitted super fan, Shirley Muldowney, was on the show earlier, and so was Big Daddy Don Garlits. They are going to race each other first round of NHRA Unfinished Business, where the legends race. Snake is going to run Ed the Ace, Terry Vance going to run Warren Johnson, and Joe Amato going to run Kenny Bernstein. But really, Shirley Muldowney and Big Daddy Don Garlits are going to race each other one more time. Now, I know it's in road cars, regular cars, wrapped cars, but still, what do you think about that whole deal?
I don't care if we're racing lawnmowers or we're racing fuel-funded cars. Is racing. You know what I mean? And there's competition, and there's egos, and there's, just bragging rights on the line. So it's going to be awesome to see that. I love Shirley to death. She shows me so much support and love, and, text messages and just cards and everything else, and, always cheering for us. So I have so much love for her and so much respect for all of our legends. they paved our way to be, where we're at today. And I mean, look at Snake. He put that deal together for that young kid out here that's driving for Force now, So our legends are very important to us. And, I have nothing but respect for those guys. And put it in perspective, I was telling Dickie the other day, you look at some of these guys that crawled in these funny cars, back in the day and gals or whatever, but they had a real set on them, man. Like every time they crawled in there, with this little aluminum foil on top of them, you had a opportunity to be on fire and lose your life. And, we have so much gear on now, and our cars are so safe, and there's so many safety features that are put on them. I mean, hell, it put the parachutes out and turn the fuel off. I mean, you're supposed to be doing all that stuff anyway. And a lot of times we beat these timers, but those folks didn't have that kind of stuff. And then the oil containment that we have now is way better than what they had back then. So when they had a rod push out of the pan, they were going to be on fire, and it was going to be a big fire. And so, the legends of our sport, they weren't scared of nothing, man. And that's what's pretty awesome. Is like, nowadays, like anybody can kind of jump in one of these cars and learn enough to wheel it down through there, and you puff your chest out and you think you are somebody. But those folks back then, man, they really were somebody, and they still are. But it's just nothing but respect,
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, the hot oil, is on you. Burning, it's on you. It was just, I'm happy that we have made all those innovations so that you guys don't have to go through that. Because I would prefer the sport.
We're super safe.
I would prefer the sport be about talent, ability, tuning. Of course, you're going 330, then about, guts. I know it takes a lot of guts to get in there, but I want you to be safe.
Absolutely, brother. We're glad to be safe.
So you're going to be on Shirley's side of the racetrack then, I would imagine.
Well, absolutely. I'm going to get some pom-poms out, and I'm going to cheer and jump up and down. We can't miss that, man.
That's good. That's good. Now, listen, the battle lines are being drawn. I am super excited about this, Matt. I'm glad to hear that you guys are too. Because, it's a promotional race, and there's some people out there, just like with your drivers start your engines, there's some people out there poo-pooing it, like, why aren't they in fuel cars? And we all know the reason. This is what we're doing. This is going to be fun. We're going to make the best of it, and we're going to enjoy it, and that's what we're going to do.
Brother, it's still racing. Like I said, I have that mindset in competition. Like, if we're lining both of our lawnmowers up, you know what I mean? Like, I want to beat you in my lawnmower, man. That's at the end of the day, it's what it comes down to. It doesn't really matter what wheels you got underneath you, and that's what drag racing's about. That's what bracket racing's about. You race anything. It's just about competition and being the best at your craft. So that's where it's at.
And Shirley, I asked her to say, message for Garlits, and she says, tell Don I'm taking it seriously. And he goes, are you kidding? Every race that Shirley has ever been in, she took it seriously. And so we got him already going back and forth, which is great. Matt, thank you very much. Congratulations. Each of the last 3 seasons, we've gotten to speak with you early on, Winter Nationals, past couple of years, and now at the Magic Dry Arizona Nationals. Thank you for telling us the story of your NASCAR Grand Marshaldom, and I think you did a great job representing the sport. We'll see you in Gainesville in a couple of weeks. Thanks for coming on WFO Radio Podcast.
Hey, thanks, Joe, and thanks to our fans that support what we do. Without them, Pennzoil, Mopar, Sandvik, all of our sponsors that keep us out here, we can't do it without them. So I always try to say thank you to our fans, because at the end of the day, our fans are who pays our bills, not our sponsors.
Just like that. Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Hagan with us here on WFO Radio. How about Matt? Great interview by Matt. He did an excellent job, and I really did think he was going to win the race when they got down the track that no one else was getting down. Like, well, throughout the remainder of the weekend, they got down the track on Friday, so they've got this track figured out. They've got something going on that's working. And yeah, of course, it was random luck, but was it? Because he went on and won the race. And we mentioned that double explosion out there in Gainesville a year ago, and I could go on and on about my perspective of that moment. And if you're a Matt Hagan fan, I can tell you, you like your guy for whatever reasons you like your guy. Some of the ladies like him because he's all buff. And, some of the guys like him because he's like a cowboy. But I can tell you the reason I like him is because he is as intense a competitor as there can possibly be. And I know it because I lived the experience. I was one of the first people there when the explosion happened. And I went down there, and he got out of the car, and Robert is standing in the middle of the track, and the safety safari is there, and everybody is there, and his eyes are shooting around, darting around, and he's processing the information. Like, Robert's okay, and Robert's like, are you okay? And they talk to each other, and Matt turns, and he's like, who won? And you could see it was just so cool. It was so cool. That moment doesn't happen in any other sport. I can't think of how that moment happens. It's a movie moment where some craziness happens and there's a big incident and two people maybe could have won and nobody knows. And it was a big moment. It was really cool. Thanks to Matt. Good start. Dickie Venables, genius. And the guys on the team, like Mike Knutson and Alex, and there's a bunch of guys on there. They were telling me, like, yeah, we just are trying to get back on WFO again. But I did not do a Winner's Circle show. But I'm mentioning them now. Way to go, guys. 1937, Dr. Hankstifer. Dr. Hankstifer puts together Hankstifer's metalworking lubricants, and they have marketed their products all over the world. Some of the highest quality products that are available. Whatever your needs, they have available products to improve your metalworking process. The goal is to make you more efficient. They offer products that are consistent, reliable for performance, and best value available. This is going to reduce your waste and production cost. So if you've got a factory, I keep talking about factories because guess what? There are people that have factories. If you're using CNC machining, you should be using Hankstafers and Hankstafers.com. They've got local stock all around the world. And so even if you are in another country listening to WFO radio and you've got CNC machines that you use, perhaps you should partner with Hankstafers. They've got more than 100 affiliates out there around the world. And check them out. And they're ready to deliver anytime, any place. They've got a full technical sales staff. Hankstafers manufactures refined petroleum, synthetic, and vegetable-based products. They're used by DSR and JFR and all the bigs in the NHRA. And I always like to mention that they support the Sackman brothers because that tells me that they're hardcore real racers. This isn't just some faceless company. These are people who are aware of the human element and they want to support up-and-coming young, fresh racers, which is cool. And also WFO Radio Podcast. And I thank them. Hankstafers.com. Hankstafers Metalworking Lubricants. If you're toll-free in North America, 800-433-LUBE. That's 800-433-LUBE. Hankstafers.com. When we come back, we're going to check in with another legend, Frank Hawley. Going to talk about the new surface at Gainesville. Going to talk about Austin Prock and Jordan Vandergriff. Going to talk about the Legends matchup between Shirley and Garlits and Snake and Ed the Ace and all of that. And we're going to ask him about what's up with the 50th Gatornationals and his own particular history. And I'm going to ask him to clarify, to confirm a story that I have heard for years.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one.
Honest. Listen.
Hey, racers and race fans, I want to tell you about the motorsports guys. Terry McMillan from Elkhart, Indiana, has got a new venture, and we want you to hit the website. They've got all kinds of great new parts, pieces, filters, oils on there, including Amalie's new Pro Racing 70 oil with Molly. It's used by many professional drag racers, including Terry McMillan, for larger turning curves and avoiding those drop cylinder moments. It saves bearings and crankshafts and provides more compression with better ring seal and less fuel in your oil. You can get it at motorsportsguys.com. We'll carry Amalie, they carry Wolf's Head Oil and Lubricants, Molly Filters, K&N Filters, All-Star Performance Racing, and high-performance parts from Motor State Distributing and Lane Automotive. It's going to be a one-stop shop. They're going to have it all. But most importantly, oil, Amalie, better than it has to be since 1903, available at motorsportsguys.com. Check it out. Bookmark it, motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan stepping up as a supporter of WFO Radio. Check him out, motorsportsguys.com.
Hey, WFO Universe. Want something for free? Send a self-addressed stamped envelope with plenty of postage, and we'll load it up with free WFO stickers. That's right, I said free. Send your envelope, care of Castello Media /WFO stickers to P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. Do it now.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions.
The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Hey, what's up, WFO Universe? It's Kathy Fisher. Join me along with Joe Castello every Sunday morning on Motor Trend for Performance TV. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
NHRA Nitro rolls on. We've got Frank Hawley just minutes away, and then John DiBartlomeo from Drag Racing Edge magazine, then my time at the tail end of the show. But I want to welcome back Hussey Performance. Hussey specializing in quality copper head gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size, any thickness. We're talking from 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or tractors. Hussey makes them all. And if they don't have them in stock, like if they haven't already punched out some, they'll make them custom for you. They do it quickly, which is very, very cool, typically less than a week. David Allen, good guy, supporter of WFO Radio, HusseyPerformance.net, but he's giving out his personal cell phone number. How crazy is that? 724-318-8292. I was like, are you crazy doing that? He's like, what people? These are drag racers, man. They're going to call me, and they're going to want copper head gaskets. Simple as that. Now, I have steered quite a few people towards Hussey, and they have spoken to me at the races, and they have loved it. They have loved it. And also, these are championship caliber copper head gaskets. One more thing, all made in America, including their machines, which I think is big, located in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. The number, 724-318-8292. That is Hussey, Hussey, performance.net. Get on their website, check out all the cool stuff that they do. Why do they do it better? 40 years in the copper industry. They know exactly where and how to purchase copper, and that's what makes the difference. HusseyPerformance.net, 724-318-8292. Let's keep going. Joining us now, another legend. We've heard from Shirley, we've heard from Garlits, we've heard from Matt Hagan, who is going on to become a legend. But this guy, I remember the first time I saw the Chi-Town Hustler in the pits at Gainesville Raceway. This man, Frank Hawley, was doing the driving. He went out, they won the race, they won the championship, they did it again the following year, and then he went on to create Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and we tell you about it each week, frankhawley.com. Frank joins us now. Frank, welcome back to WFO Radio Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing good, Joe. How about you?
I am excellent. I'm excited. I'm super excited. This time of year always means the Gatornationals, and I know I'm going to make my pilgrimage north to where you happen to reside on a regular basis. How are things up there, and how excited are you for the 50th Gatornationals?
Well, the first Gatornationals we ever came to, my dad and a friend of his actually brought me down, and I was at the inaugural Gatornationals when I was a kid. So it's pretty cool to have been there when it began, and then heck, I'm still around for the 50th. That's an accomplishment in itself, right?
Yes, you're on the wrong side of the right side of the dirt, as some people would say. You look great. Come on, though. Everybody's getting older. I'm feeling it a little bit, though. But you are you're not the type of person that looks like you age.
Oh, well, that's very, very kind. But the Gatornationals has always been special to us. As I said, I was at the first one. We actually visited the track before the track was even built, earlier than that. And then, in 1985, we chose that for the home for our racing school. So we've been residents there and seen all of the transitions and changes with the facility and the building of new towers and grandstands and skyboxes and more paving in the pits. And now we've got a brand new racing surface that they've just completed a few weeks ago for the Gatornationals. So I'm going to be excited to be up there and see a lot of my old friends.
And you, from what I understand, have actually been down the new surface. So you are someone very exciting to speak with. This track has such a legacy of being a record setter. You know, all the speed records and ET records over the years because of the great air early on. You know, get a couple of races out of the way, figure out the tune-up, and really lay into it at the Gator Nationals. But recently, say the last 10 years or so, we haven't seen so many of those records. The track maybe got a little age in it, a little bumpy here or there. All right, Frank, you've been down the track, 1,500 feet of concrete. What do you think?
Well, I personally haven't, but our instructors at the racing school have. In fact, the first cars ever down the racetrack were a couple of our guys, Jimmy Montgomery and Craig Penny, and they got in the door cars and the dragsters and made some runs, and you know, they said it was the smoothest racetrack they'd ever been on. They're getting ready, you know, they're going to have a divisional before the Gator Nationals, and I you know, a lot of times the record performances are kind of fortuitous, you know, as you know, with the weather conditions, the temperature, and everything else. So, you know, we'll wait and see what it turns up like. But it is absolutely one of the smoothest facilities we've ever seen.
Well, that's exciting, and that's what I want to hear. You know, anytime NHRA makes a huge investment, period, I think everybody wants to hear that it turns out well. And hearing you say that, that's great news.
Yeah, and you know, they NHRA has certainly put a lot of money into the facility over the years. You know, we're happy to call it home. I mean, of course, we travel a lot throughout the year, but you know, we come back home in the fall. We get to spend the you know, the entire winter here in Florida, which you know, we've had a few cold days and some warm days, so we'll have to wait and see what it turns out like for the Gators.
All right, let's talk about 1982-83, and those are the years that I was referencing when the you know, the Chi-Town Hustler rolls in with that million-mile you know, match race truck that it ran in the back of, and you guys decided to go out on the tour and chase points, and you won the 82 and 83 Gator Nationals. We've already heard from Shirley Muldowney on this show. You shared the winner's circle with Shirley in 82 and Lee Shepard, by the way. Like, what an iconic winner's circle 1982 was. Garlits lost in the final round. He told us he made a mistake putting a different engine in. Just like to think about that race. You were a big part of both of those races, 82, 83, as funny car winner.
Yeah, and you know, 82 was the first national event, NHRA national event I'd ever won. So that made it pretty exciting. And we went on to win several races that year. And a joke that I had with Shirley is that, you know, that was a championship year for her. And it seemed like every time we won the race, she won the race. And I was looking for front page coverage. And, you know, in the local sports papers or the trade papers. And when she won, she was always the biggest story. So it was, you know, Shirley Muldowney wins top fuel. And you go through the entire story. And in the very last paragraph, it says, and Frank Hawley won funny car. And I just asked her, I said, listen, you can win the championship, but we really need to win different races.
There you go. Makes perfect sense. You're trying to look for a little pub, and Shirley, she outshines it. And I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, she was a great racer, and we got to know each other quite well that year.
Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. And also some other connections, you know, spoke with and have been speaking with Daryl Gwynn. NHRA's got this unfinished business race featuring, you know, Garlits and Muldowney. They're going to race first round. And Daryl, you know, helped unveil the fan vote and the matchups and everything. And so we've been spending a lot of time thinking about, you know, Daryl's life going to the Gator Nationals, winning 89 and 90, and winning in alcohol early on, you winning 82, 83. And you ended up driving for Daryl later on after Daryl's accident. A lot of connections with this drag racing community and Florida community, and the Gator Nationals has been kind of a hub of all of that.
Yeah, in fact, I was standing on the start line. They ran the final quite late at night in top fuel in 90, and I watched Daryl win. And I thought, wow, what an incredible career. And little did I know that, within a few weeks, he'd had his accident and have already called and asked if I would, drive the car for him. So really exciting to get back in a good car, like Daryl's with Ken Vini as a crew chief. But, wow, it was just a horrible time, to see my friend Daryl with his injuries. But the racing community really stuck together, supported him, and it's just really cool. Daryl and I have been texting back and forth about a get-together he's going to have at the Gatornationals and with all his old crew and team members. And so, it's great to still have Daryl around with us and active in the racing community.
No, great deal, and just the way that Daryl has been able to turn that, very terrible one day, and he says it, right, has had a great life with one bad day, and so true. So what do you think of the Legends race? Garlits and Muldowney, one final time. Kenny Bernstein versus Joe Amato, Snake versus Ed the Ace, Warren Johnson versus Terry Vance. Give me your Frank Hawley assessment of the way these legends may handle this situation, because I think that they're going to... The competitive fangs are going to come out. Like, how could they not?
Oh, there's no doubt. There's not one of those people that isn't going to try and win, every single round. And I got to see Joe Amato actually just last summer. His daughter came through our Super Comp Dragster program up in Reading, Pennsylvania, and Joe came out and spent a couple days watching her drive our cars. And so Joe and I got to tell a lot of old stories and hang out, and he's looking pretty sharp. So, I don't know that I've got any favorites, but I don't think any of those people on that list have lost a whole lot of their skill.
I agree with that. And like Kenny Bernstein's in great physical shape. Like, I would not want to have to do a competition of involving physicality against Kenny Bernstein either. Joe looks pretty good. Like, those guys look good. They look healthier than I do. No, really.
Well, maybe it's all those years of driving up and down the road and eating that junk food to go drag racing that helped them. Who knows?
Exactly. Nitromethane is actually good for you and extends your life. Now, Frank, let me ask you about some of these great young racers that we're seeing, guys like Austin Prock and, that have come through the school. I believe Jordan Vandergriff also came through the school. You correct me if I'm wrong. But, like, all of a sudden, we're having like a wave of young talent who are getting out there and getting after it. Give me your thoughts.
Well, it's always great to see younger drivers get in the sport. It's really impressive to see how competitive they are right off the bat. And a year ago, Austin Prock and Jordan started in our Super Comp dragster class out in Fontana, California, and they were both in the same class together. So their drag racing careers kind of started on the same day, and then to see them, in top fuel cars now, it's really cool. We're really supportive of those guys, and they say some good things about us, and of course we know we know their families and their parents, and so it's. We enjoy the heck out of what we do, and the fact that we're just a small part of the careers of a lot of these new drivers.
Yeah, but you're a big part of it. You're not a small part of it. You're like the foundation. No building stands without a great foundation, and you are giving them that, and they've obviously already done so well. All right, a couple more questions for you, Frank, as we get ready for the Gatornationals in a couple of weeks. I do want to talk about the Dragster Adventure, because it's what we promote here on the WFO Radio podcast. There's a reason. I mentioned the Super Comp courses and the Super Gas courses, and I would hope that racers would climb the ladder, but the Dragster Adventure, I think, is the first rung of the ladder, right? Somebody who's a fan, who's, man, I would like to try to do that. It's affordable, it's easy, they get to go out and have a good time with you. I'm noticing, like, the numbers. Every week we go and we see how many spots are available at which racetrack around the country. And it looks like this is a program that is really, really getting people kind of out of the stands and into the cockpit of a dragster.
Yeah, I mean, just a really quick recap. When we started school 3 decades ago, we did everything kind of backwards. We started, you would think you would start with slower cars and go to the faster ones. We started with alcohol dragsters and funny cars, and then we got into the pro stock, and then we got into super comp and super gas classes. And then a few years ago, we thought that not everybody wants to invest the time, energy, and money to go become an NHRA licensed driver. But they might like to just try and drive a dragster. So we got some cars put together with some stock Chevy engines in them, and we have our dragster adventure. It's got a gas pedal and a brake pedal and an automatic transmission like your passenger car, and they run 10 seconds, 130 miles an hour, which most of the people that have been to the drag races and watched the fuel cars run or the alcohol cars run, and then they watch our adventure cars, and they go, wow, that doesn't look very fast. And when they get in them, they say, oh my God, I can't believe how fast that is. And they have a great time doing it. So for a few $100, you can do something that you're not going to get to do anywhere else. And that's get behind the wheel of a real dragster and stage that car and drive it down the track. And then for those folks that like driving it a lot, we let them get together in the afternoon. They have a side-by-side elimination, just like the pros, and we got a trophy for them and everything. So that program started out, we did it a few places, and now it probably is about a third of all our revenue for the year. It's really taken off.
And you can find out more by going to frankhawley.com. And for the WFO radio listeners, this is the thing I really encourage you to do, because it's going to give you an understanding that you don't have right now if you've never driven one of these cars. You couldn't possibly know the feeling of this rear-engine dragster and the thrill that's happening for the driver. It's about competition, but it's also about the fun, and you can get it at a reasonable price. So, Frank, judging by your reverse evolution, the next thing is going to be the $100 bring your rental car to Frank Hawley Drag Racing School program?
I had Garlits and Shirley asked if we had a program like that. They wanted to have me help them prepare for the Legends race at the Gatornationals. But I said we didn't have anything available like that. So maybe I shouldn't have said they asked for that.
Oh, you should hear the politicking already. We had Garlits and Muldowney on. Shirley said, well, he's got that drag pack, and he's had a lot of experience in regular cars, and she's lowering expectations. Big is he's lowering expectations. Everybody's lowering expectations. I love it. It's very fun. All right, I got one more question for you, and you don't have to answer this. And I may have asked you this in the past, and if you did already answer, then answer again. There's a story out there about you when you first started running for Austin Coil that I've heard in a couple of different places. And maybe you can confirm, or maybe you can deny, or maybe it's true or not true or otherwise, and maybe you'll just say pass, which is okay. You can do that. That when you first got there, I'm going to paraphrase it, right? That Austin basically said, he treated his car like it's a one-off amazing work of art. And he wanted you to be aware that he did not want you to wreck the car. And so he said that they cut the roll cage off and that they soldered it back on. And if you roll the car, it was going to be you that that had the biggest problem. Is that a true story? Did Austin Coil really tell you that they had cut the roll cage off and soldered it back on so it wasn't very strong, so you better keep the car rubber side down or else?
Absolutely true. And he'd said that when our first meeting about driving the car, my interview, and because he said, hey, I've heard you're a really good driver, you're really fast, but you bump into a few things, and so let me tell you what we've done. And so I laughed, of course, because this is a joke, and he's sitting there looking at me, and he's not laughing at all. And I thought for a moment, maybe he did that. I don't know. But absolutely. Now, I got to be honest. I did go look carefully at the roll cage when I got a chance, and he wasn't looking, and it didn't appear that was the case. But he did tell me that's an absolutely true story.
That is awesome. That is great, and it's also great. It makes me feel better, at least, to know that he was just saying that and didn't actually do it.
Well, sometimes with Austin Coyle, you didn't know what he was really going to do. You never knew. But smart guy, gave me a great opportunity and a really good car to race over the years.
So many great things happened from, this little time period we just discussed. You guys showing up for your first Gators to race, and you won. And then Austin, he went on to such great things, and you went on to such great things. And just so many, fond memories coming out of this era. I'm excited that we are all going. I was just a little kid, of course, that we're all going to be in the same place next weekend. I know there's the Baby Gators race this weekend for the Lucas Oil Stars, but then the 50th Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gatornationals. Thank you for coming on the show. And for the folks out there, the Dragster Adventure at Gainesville Raceway, from what I understand, it's sold out. This is 2 weeks after the race, but obviously a lot of demand to run on that new surface.
Yeah, we've been really blessed here the last couple of years. Economy's doing well, country's doing great. People are back to work, and I think they want to do a little drag racing or go to the drag races. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody up there in Gainesville.
Frank, thank you for coming on WFO Radio Podcast. Thank you for supporting our show as well as a sponsor.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Frank. Frank Hawley with us here on WFO Radio. And, of course, FrankHawley.com is where you need to go. I feel like Frank and Lana have been such great supporters of WFO Radio since the beginning. They knew we're building an audience and we're talking about drag racing and that we're creating this community is really what it is. And they have been supporting our show. And many, many of our listeners have gone on the Dragster Adventure. Now, I'm not telling you to not try to get your Super Comp license. I think that is awesome. But like Frank said, they did it backwards. They started out with alcohol funny cars and then they moved down and they're expanding their base. This Dragster Adventure program is something that when you do it, you will understand something new that you didn't in the past. And that's what I think is best about it. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, 130 in the quarter mile. People think that they're slow. Yeah, right. 10 seconds, like 10 O's, is never slow. It's just that real race cars that are spending a lot of money are really fast. Trust me, you will get an incredible thrill from a 10-second rear-engine dragster. In fact, I often tell the story of my first and only rear-engine dragster. I was on the side of my house, and I launched it. And I experienced the first ever launch without weight transfer. Think of it. Everything else I'd ever driven in my entire life, with exception of, at that time, it was the first time ever in my entire life, had the engine in front of me. The rear-engine dragster feeling is just totally different. No wasted motion, straightforward. Then later on in life, I got to drive an Indy car. But this was the cat's meow. And you can do it on the Dragster Adventure. Go to the website, check it out, FrankHawley.com, or give them a call, which is what I like best. When you call up and be like, I heard you on WFO Radio, and I want to go on the Dragster Adventure and be just like Austin Prock. 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. And thanks to Frank for coming on the show. When we come back, it's going to be Drag Racing Edge time with Johnny D, Hall of Famer, Division I. We'll be back after this.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, WFO Radio listeners, if you're in the northern part of the country, I know you're freezing right now. You know what would be great? A hot cup of Rodax coffee. Maybe a little hot sauce, a little spice rub for that food you're cooking in the oven. Check out RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. They've got over 40 single original coffees to choose from, plus custom blends like Bang the Blower and WFO Radio. Their coffee represents the top 5% of coffee grown throughout the world, and it's all roasted fresh per order. They've got limited edition, seasonal, and rare micro lots. They've got exotics. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or just pick up the phone.
817-924-6821. Keep your ear out for those WFO holiday packs. Depends on the holiday what the deal is, but Marvin is wheeling and he is dealing. 817-924-6821 for Rodax Coffee and Grills.com.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the block, head, and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com, order it today. All natural product, made out of coconuts, 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA fan, cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job. I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
NHRA Nitro final segment. What a show. Garlits and Muldowney. I'm interested to see how it does, though, because a lot of the people who are like such devoted fans of Shirley and Big are probably not podcast listeners. We are the young generation, and we see it when Jordan Vandegrift and Austin Prock are on. We get huge numbers because let's face it, it's a technology thing. I would hope that everybody out there shares the show, retweets the show, and gets it out there so that everybody can hear Garlits and Muldowney and be as excited as I am about unfinished business. And I'll discuss in my time, as well as respond to that guy's comment, the negative comment to me, which I will respond to because that's what I do. I respond. But right now, everybody, Drag Racing Edge magazine. Joining us now, he is the editor of Drag Racing Edge magazine. I'm not going to mention that he's a Division I Hall of Famer because he hates that. John DiBartlomeo. Johnny D.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? I know you're great. I know you're better, at least, because you're in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, well, I forgot to turn the light on or something because it just wasn't too much sunshine today.
Yeah, well, it could also be like 30 degrees, and it's not. Well, what is? You tell me, man. I'm 5 hours. I'm 5 hours south of you.
It's 40 degrees. It's 40 degrees, so it's cold, buddy.
Well, and that's
I think
the
somebody
thing.
forgot to turn the heat and the light on.
People don't realize that 5-hour drive makes a huge difference when it comes to weather. And North Florida is really South Georgia. You're practically in Georgia. We, as down here in Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood, that makes such a difference. It's 80 degrees out. It's sunny. It's beautiful. John, there's girls in bikinis. They're on the beach. They're windsurfing.
All right. Okay, I get it. I'll tell you a quick story. My wife and I always wanted to go to Disneyland for Christmas. And we, this is going back 30 years probably, but we always talked about it. And the one year we decided, that's it, we're going. This year we're going to Florida for Christmas. We're going to Disney World. We're going to sit on the beach. We had reservations on the Gulf of Mexico, blah, blah, blah. That was the year it snowed. And I said, that's it. Never again. I could stay home and watch it snow.
Yeah, and it has never snowed ever again since that was 1977. And I remember.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, now we know why it happened, which is good. At least everyone always wanted to know why, and now we know why.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about a couple of things. Most importantly, we have you on whenever a new Drag Racing Edge magazine is available. And I like to think that our listeners, as much as they love digital podcast subscription, checking out things on their phone, that there are times, like a magazine, it's like a piece of artwork that sits on your table, your coffee table. Your friends come over, they look at it, they flip through it, all this great photography. It's like a lost art. And for $24.95, you can get the full year of Drag Racing Edge, and you've got great stories in there. A lot of great information.
Thank you. We've really been pushing subscriptions the last couple of months, and I got to tell you that, I say the phone's ringing off the hook with them, but basically what it is people subscribing online. So, but, we got a phone call, I guess, a couple of months ago, IT department, to me, "Hey, what is going on?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Man," he says, "all of a sudden, between the last couple of days, he said, we're getting hundreds of these subscriptions." He says, "What the?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Maybe, we're doing okay." So we like it. And like you said, I mean, I think I still believe that even though everybody's into this social media and seeing things online, I still believe that people want to have a piece of paper in their hands, sit down at the coffee table, or sit down in their living room, or sit down in another room in the house that we don't mention. But I think they still want to have that piece of paper in their hand. I mean, I've got magazines stacked up, back to the 1970s, back to the 1960s, I think I do. So, I mean, it becomes a piece of artwork. It really does.
It does. And that is important. And, we're in this digital revolution. And, of course, because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. And the idea that everything is going to be totally electronic and digital and there is going to be no permanent paper documented record of anything is frightening and shocking. The idea of these little records of the month of drag racing or the quarter of drag racing, and that's why I believe that there's room for Drag Racing Edge, and there's room for, Competition Plus is online, and there's room for NHRA National Dragster, because when someone goes to, their house, your house, like, what is around to indicate what you are, what you like, what you think, what you do? You can't always be looking at your phone. You should be using that to listen to WFO.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's a record of what happened, when it happened, and, the digital stuff online, I guess it's always going to be around, but boy, to just have a piece of paper. I mean, another small story. I had my first grandchild. Well, I didn't have it, but my wife and I, we had our first grandchild back in December. And I went out. He was born on December 17th, and I went out and I bought him a whole bunch of newspapers of that day. And I gave it to his father, my son, and with the hopes that, at some point he'll grow up and he might want to know what exactly happened on that day. So it's pretty cool. I think having a piece of paper is important.
I agree for a million reasons. And John, FYI, I know you're at Gainesville Raceway there, and you're in the parking lot and queued up. And one of the hallmarks of Gainesville Raceway is questionable cell phone service. And so it is kind of like warbling a little bit, and not enough for me to tell you to stop, but just kind of, try to adjust the way you're holding your phone or something. All right, what is in this latest edition of Drag Racing Edge that we're going to see? I have yet to see it. And first of all, everybody needs to know a copy of Drag Racing Edge is one of the prizes when you play EV3 Drag Racing in the WFO League, which is cool. Who's on the cover? Who made the cover of Drag Racing Edge for the Gatornationals?
Jeggy.
Jeg.
I met NHRA show in December. It was December, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I met Michael Malmgren, who is a Swedish pro stock racer. And we got into this long conversation about the differences between pro stock here and pro stock over in Europe. And, a lot of the problems, and we, I guess we'll call them concerns with the pro stock over here. And some of those concerns they share over there, too. So it was really interesting. So there was a story in there about Europe versus United States pro stock racing. And we got a hold of Jeggy. And we kind of got his thoughts on the idea, and he races our front cover. So between him and Terry McMillan, I think that those are two great human interest type stories, because Terry McMillan is, as you well know, he's just, it's amazing. I mean, a guy, and I don't want to say of any age, but I mean of that age, he's 60-something years old, to have the excitement that he has, it really is not unbelievable, but it's enlightening. Can we say that?
Yes, I think that's a great way to say it. And it's inspiring, because, some people think when you get old, you slow down, and Terry's not, so I don't have to.
No, he's not slowing down at all. But, it's like one of the questions I think I asked when we were talking about this story was, what keeps you excited? What keeps you getting up every day? And his first comment was, have you ever had a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Because he's got a 5-year-old son. So, he's got to get up and chase this kid around the house, I guess. But it's enlightening, like you said.
What about tech stuff? Always something to learn in drag racing. Edge, you guys are always covering something, whether getting to the track or at the track or fuel systems or otherwise. What'd you do?
I mean, we at the Lucas Oil Fabrication Shop and at the DSR, the Don Schumacher Racing Shop, and watching how they build a top fuel car. Dragsters are dragsters, and I think as I wrote the story, it seems relatively easy. Lay a bunch of tubing on the floor and start welding it together, and there you go, you got a dragster. Well, it's not as easy as it seems, and there's a lot of steps that they take to ensure not only the safety of the driver, but also to make sure that it's a really good car. So we spent a lot of time over there. We also talk in a few about piston to wall clearance and things like that, and mounting an alternator, and it's just our typical tech stuff. I like talking to people, and I like doing stories like Terry McMillan. We also got David Barton in there. It's a great human interest story about what he does with his factory stock cars. So, I mean, I guess I like all kinds of stories. I mean, I say I like the tech stuff, but I like doing stories. I like doing human interest stuff. And we get back to social media and we get back to digital revolution. I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, having something like a piece of paper in your hands, or if there's a story online that's any longer for me than a computer screen, if you want to call it a length, if it gets too long, I want to read it. I want to have a piece of paper in my hands. And a lot of times we get people who will read our stories, and maybe they'll take, for instance, our piston and wall clearance story. There's a lot of good tech information in there as to why you need piston and wall clearance, so on and so forth. People might get to a point where there might be a page or two, and then they want to take in a little bit, and then they go back to read the rest of it, and you almost can't do that on. So, again, we get back to, I think paper is important.
Totally agree. And for those of you out there listening, and John, just so you understand, the phone is mostly here. Like I would say it's 85%, but coming in and out. And what I'm going to do is we're going to deal with it. I know where you are. I know what you're doing. I know it's not getting any better. I know there's nothing you can do. And the good news is, this is the best it's going to be for the next 2 weeks. Because as more people get there, it's only going to get worse. So let's keep on going. All right.
Yeah, I know.
Changing one of the go ahead.
I want to just bring up a point that I just found out. And again, I mean, it's just so important to have a piece of paper in our hands. So I like to reiterate on that. And we really appreciate the people who have subscribed and our subscribers. I can't thank them enough.
Well, there you go. No, totally agree. And that's why we help do this, because and appreciate the fact that you guys put an ad in each Drag Racing Edge for our podcast as we try to grow our audience, because half the drag racing fans out there don't even know that you can hear John DiBartlomeo go in deep about all kinds of great stuff on these podcasts. Not just this one, but there are many popping up, and there's some new stuff coming soon. But all right, I want to ask you about the 50th Gatornationals, in particular, Unfinished Business. It's a promotion that grew out of kind of a joke, and it's going to feature Bernstein and Snake and Garlits and Muldowney. Do you know the matchups already? The matchups were announced today by Daryl Gwynn, the Grand Marshal, and myself. At this moment, are you familiar with the matchups?
No, I'm not.
You're
not.
You're not. That's great.
No, I traveled this morning, make it here to Gainesville, and I have my cell phone on, obviously, but you know the way service is here. But no.
Great. No, that's perfect. So now I can
go ahead, tell me.
Here, okay. Well, the listeners of the show already heard from the first major matchup, which is Big Daddy Don Garlits versus Shirley Muldowney. What do you think about that?
What else would you want? This is Gainesville. Of course it would be that.
Well, exactly. But, when you put it in the hands of the fans, you never know what's going to happen. Some people were like, well, we should wait to the final.
No. I think the fans voted on. I think that was a given. You had to have that one.
You have to have that. Exactly. Well, they do, and we did. And Shirley said to Garlits, tell him I'm taking it seriously. And Garlits said to Shirley, you better leave first. This thing's going to be one on the starting line. So they're going again. They're going again, Johnny D.
That's the beauty. I mean, that's the beauty of this event. This is going to be, I mean, this is the 50th. I think I've seen more hype about the 50th here than we did we had this a couple of years ago?
Yes.
A bunch of years ago, probably.
Well, we had the 60th U.S. Nationals, the 50th winners, the 50th U.S. Nationals. But I think this is the most hype that has ever happened for any drag race ever.
Okay, so why have we had so much hype? Is because people are now starting to realize, the powers that be are now starting to realize the power of social media?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. That
makes sense.
And also that there's 100 reasons. Number one, these legends, like for instance, the next matchup, Warren Johnson versus Terry Vance. So you got Pro Stock Car versus Pro Stock Motorcycle. The winner gets to run one of the Nitro guys. How about WJ winning 9 times out there at Gainesville? Kenny Bernstein and Joe Amato. What do you think of that one?
That's another given. Kenny Bernstein, first guy to go 300 mile an hour right down here. Bernstein, Amato, what was Amato's take down here?
260.
The first guy with
tall
one of those
wing.
Big, tall wing, right.
Tall wing.
Yep.
Of course they got to run. And finally, Snake versus the Ace. Funny car guys with cool nicknames.
It should have been Snake and Mongoose, but we'll take the Ace. That's still pretty cool.
Yes, well, exactly. May he rest in peace. And, the second round matchups, I don't know, but I think that the fans got these perfectly right. They are great stuff. So very exciting stuff. And I can't wait. Unfinished business. Now, the season off and running, Johnny D, Pro Stock 18 races. It seems to be better.
I lost you there.
Talking about pro. Yeah, do you hear me now? Yeah. Do you hear me now? Okay.
Yep.
We're about to wrap it up. Johnny D, Pro Stock, 18 races. It looks like it was the right move. We've got full fields, and actually it's been probably the healthiest category so far.
They had that separate TV show, and I don't know about. I like the show. I thought the show was great. They did a great job producing that show last Tuesday night. I was a little concerned Sunday night on the Sunday night show, where at the end of the show they had the 2 fuel car winners up on the. I think maybe they should have had Jeggy up there also as the winner of the Pro Stock thing, but that's beside the point. I think it was a great show, and if that's what they're going to continue doing. Those cars, to me, not taking anything away from the Nitro cars, but the Pro cars, to me, I think are some of the most technologically advanced vehicles we have on a drag strip.
Certainly the most finicky. Well, excellent stuff. I agree. I thought the Pro Stock show was great. And, everyone complained about it being on Tuesday. And I don't have this as like gospel, but from what I understand, that was like a network timing kind of thing. And that in the future, they're going to try really hard to have it air sometime right after the Nitro show. Somewhere like maybe in the third hour of a block even. So you do the Nitro cars and then you do Pro Stock. If that happens, I think it will be perfect. I really like the way they were able to feature long form Pro Stock, focus. I think people have a tough time focusing here in our modern culture, and I think that was a focused broadcast on Pro Stock. John DiBartlomeo, thank you so much. Drag Racing Edge magazine. You can go to dragracingedge.com, get subscribed. It's like $24.95 for a whole year. You get 6 editions. They're beautiful, great photography, great details, all kinds of stuff. John, I will see you. You're going to be up there at the Baby Gators, which is actually the Gatornationals when it comes to class eliminations. And so people are going to be taking it extremely seriously. The first Gatornationals winners are coming this weekend.
And Joe, one request. Do me a favor. Turn the heat up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll just walk outside. Man, the girls and the bikinis. Why are they wearing high heels with bikinis, John? Like, that's the thing I just don't get.
Joe, Now I think I'm losing you, Joe.
All right, John. Be good. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. John DiBartlomeo with us here on WFO Radio in the parking lot, Gainesville Raceway, sitting in the cold. And, of course, I'm taunting him, right? He gets it, though. You gotta bust chops a little bit, just a little bit. The girls are not wearing their high heels right now. Was that over the line? I don't think so. I think I'm just trying to paint a picture for the audience of what normal daily life is like in, south of West Palm Beach, Florida. That's just what I'm doing. All right, it's my time. Tail end of the show. Patreon.com/WFO Radio supports this, meaning there are listeners that signed up to WFOradio.com /Patreon or patreon.com/WFO Radio. Get it right. And it's available on WFOradio.com. You go to the website. You can find it. Click Patreon. And you can sign up. And what do you get? You get extra content, early content. You got an immediate response to the Unfinished Business announcement this morning. And they kick a couple of bucks. They basically do a monthly subscription that they choose on their own for these shows to support the show and help grow the show and do all of that. And it's great. And we appreciate them and we love them. And they are the future of the show, honestly, because they are people who care so much about what we're doing here at WFO Radio that they pay directly. Simple as that. So thanks to them. And it brings me to my time, which I'm going to go quickly. This has been an amazing show. Maybe I'm more excited about Unfinished Business than other people. If you're excited about it, you think it's cool, you loved the show. If you're not at all excited about it, you think it's not cool, you probably didn't like the show. You like Matt Hagan. And we, in the WFO universe, have been speaking a lot about the negativity that is out there. And on the Ignition show, we had a great deal because we talked with several of our audience members about this. And they mentioned that Joey Logano and the NASCAR world has got a huge problem right now with the same deal, negativity. And what's it all about and why are people angry? And he said it in a quote, there are people that don't even know what they want, they're just angry. And we have a lot of that too. Now, if you don't think Unfinished Business is cool, are you one of those people? No, you're not one of those people. But I think you're missing the point. I know a lot of people wish that we could get them in 300-mile-per-hour nitro dragsters. Like, hey, Antron, give your car to Shirley, and so on and so forth. But you've got to realize that that's not possible, right? You got to realize that it's not possible. And that this, like Alan said, the cars are not the stars of this deal. This deal is about the people who drive the cars. And I don't know for certain how they're going to determine which cars to use. And they're going to wrap these cars, man. These cars are going to have individual wraps on them. And you would hope that they would all be equal, as best as any two stock cars are. And if these racers want to go cheat them up, I'm all for that too. Will they go cheat them up? I don't know. Will I help them cheat them up? I don't know. Could I get in trouble for that? Maybe. But what I would say is maybe you're on the fence. Get into this. And also the Gatornationals. You got the start of the E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified Series season. There was testing going on in Orlando this past week. Just too much to fit into one show. Fortunately, we've got another one coming next week. Oh, yeah, NHRA Nitro coming back. Ignition is also in the archive. And Pro Stock Motorcycle. Interesting stories. Karen Stouffer going to be running the White Alligator Racing bike with Jerry Savoie and Tim Kalungian. And that is going to change a lot. Got to see some of the details, but that's going to change a lot because Karen knows what she's doing as a rider. It's just that she's always been fighting from behind. Now she's going to be, not that she didn't have a fast bike. She did from time to time. Now she's on one of the quick bikes out there. So we'll see exactly what goes down. I'm very excited about that as well. Now, I've been teasing this negative commentary, and I want to address it. We addressed this on the Ignition show. I talk about Ignition all the time, trying to build my audience. You know, you may not like talk radio or entertainment radio, but that's what we're doing, stream of consciousness discussion. And it's fun and funny, and all I could say is you should try listening for a few episodes, and you'll end up liking it, as so many in the past have. Do we do high-profile interviews? No, not really. Not really. It's a gathering of guys. It's guy talk. And we hit many different issues, right? Like the fact that I got a new Apple Watch and how I'm getting used to Apple Watch life. And every once in a while in the background, you're going to hear a noise like that. And it's the Apple Watch. It's not me. And what do I think about it? It's the first watch that I've worn in many, many years. And why do people wear these anyway? Especially the big ones that cost $5,000. What's up with that? Different subjects. Haas F1, all of that. But we also interact with the audience. And when someone like Tom Parson writes on our webpage something like this, I address it in both shows. Joe, I was disappointed to hear you characterize the people complaining about NHRA TV and All Access as basically whiners and telling us to man up. I'm sure you realize we're all paying for a service and can reasonably expect to use that service. With all the hype around the new NHRA.TV, I expected better. It isn't. I paid for a subscription through the iOS app, and the money was deducted from my bank account. So far, after 3 weeks, my account still shows I have no current subscription. Emails have gone unanswered since the first, probably automated, saying that they got my issue, and they were escalating it. 2 weeks and nothing. Is this the customer service you are saying we should not complain about? Would you accept a car dealer selling you an oil change with not actually doing it? You said you do your own oil changes to avoid problems. Would you accept it from your cleaners, your ISP? What about the server company that hosts WFO radio? I think you would expect what you pay for, just like we do. So don't be running us down as negative Nellies. In fact, some people consider a company taking money and not providing what was promised as fraud. I don't think you really want to be enthusiastically endorsing a company that uses those business practices, says Thomas. Thomas wrote that on February 22nd at 9:31 a.m. And I responded a long and emotional and detailed journey of a response on the Ignition Show. And there was a lot of highs and a lot of lows. We laughed, we cried. But here on Nitro, since it comes second, you're going to get the hits of that deal, which is this. Thomas, you have a legitimate issue, and you should be most angered by the people who are complaining negatively about the most minor of things. Because unfortunately, their complaints about this or about that or the first 2 hours or whatever is distracting from your apparently legitimate issue. Now, there's no way if this was me, I would have allowed this thing to go on for 3 weeks. I know you work, I'm sure, and you don't have a lot of time to be dealing with it. But what I would have done is I would have stopped payment on whatever the service was that I was not satisfied with, and I would have tried again in a different way. Now, you say that it was deducted from your bank account. I tend to use credit cards for these things just so I can be empowered to do such a thing as I mentioned. And, who knows what the personal situation is. But no, I would not accept what you are describing. But I really don't believe this situation you're describing is in any way indicative of any kind of mass numbers. Some people had problems switching over from NHRA All Access on the first weekend. But once people got through, the service has been fantastic, according to everybody that I have talked to. You haven't even seen the service. And so I feel terrible for you. Now, the fact that you're suggesting fraud, or even bothered to type the word fraud, I know you're doing it for effect, and I can tell that a lot of your email here was sarcastic and probably good-natured, and I agree with you. And I would wish I could help you, but I don't have it yet. I don't have it yet. I've seen other people's, and I've gotten reports. But it is not fraud when you call the pizza delivery company and the pizza company sends out the delivery with a guy and the guy gets pulled over and taken to jail and your pizza doesn't arrive. Now, your pizza didn't arrive. That's true, but it's not fraud. There's some sort of extenuating circumstance that neither you nor I understand completely. And it's somewhere in the net. And you know how the internet is. It is unreliable at its best. So what is it? Is it, do you need to delete the cookies from your thing? Do you have the wrong email address? Do they have the wrong contact? Do they have the wrong this? Do they have the wrong that? What thing doesn't communicate with the other thing? You know that when dealing with internet stuff, sometimes, every once in a while, there's an outlier. You're obviously it. I'm not diminishing your situation, but you're saying 2 weeks, man. Well, something's up. So you got to invest in a little more time. Complain. And what can I say? You have a legitimate issue that the waters were muddied by hundreds of others who did not have legitimate issues. That just they couldn't figure it out, or it was the first day, or there was a problem that got in front of yours. But I still think people who did that are negative Nellies. I still think the people that got on and screamed, look, this is terrible. I can't. Oh, it's working. Okay. All right, I'm good. And they left behind those negative comments all over Facebook. This is a terrible product, and I hate everybody involved. Oh, it's great. I'm going to go watch it now. It's working. Hey, this is awesome. Except the first comment is left behind. And that's my point. That's my point. To stop that. Don't do that. And like using the word fraud. Really? This is fraud? Really? Come on, we're doing that? Fraud? Well, really, the answer is there's only 5 people that can get on there. And it's a rotating 5. And everybody else, they're just taking the money. Really? That's ridiculous. By the way, NHRA, if you're listening, that was sarcasm. Sarcasm. All right, one more thing. I've been encouraging people to record themselves and send in their opinions about various subjects. And Sean Anderson has done a great job, and I promised to play it in both shows. And here it is, about eCopo.
After seeing the electric Copo, this got me to thinking, maybe it's time for electric Pro Stock. Production motors, production batteries, lots of manufacturer involvement, lots of innovation. 1 motor, 2 motor, 4 motor, motor in front, motor in back, motor in the middle. Who knows? Chassis designs that we can't even think of right now. Public interest that we can't even think of right now. This could bring NHRA to the pinnacle of automotive technology quickly. Make headlines and do so much for Pro Stock that's not there right now. It could bring back the production car connections. WFO.
An opinion from one of our listeners, Sean Anderson, and here's what I will say. Alan Reinhart always has the preamble. I'm not saying that we need all of our cars to go electric and everything, and the reason he does that is because extremists out there, you hear the word electric and everybody, reacts unnecessarily. I genuinely believe there is a place in our pit area for some electric vehicles. My opinion is that, eCopo would be so much better if there was eCobraJet. The idea of the roar of the crowd as 2 cars are going down the racetrack and the Ford guys are rooting for Ford technology and the Chevy guys are rooting for Chevy technology and you could actually hear them is kind of appealing. But also, this whole sport is for tinkerers and people who are trying to improve the breed. So why can't there be some electric guys out there running in Competition Eliminator? If a guy like Garlits, who's working on Swamp Rat 38, wants to bring it out and enter in Competition Eliminator, why can't Competition Eliminator figure out a place for those people to run? And either they win or they lose or they get beaten or they don't get beaten, but that's not what it's about. It's about the original message, to provide a place to race. And so I think that there's room. I think there's a spot. I think there's a way. I would like to see some eCopos race eChallenger and eCobraJet for those people that are inclined. But I do want to point out this fact. eCopo is 2 seconds slower than a factory stock showdown car. And that 2 seconds is not going to be made up anytime soon. And the fans who like the sound and the speed and the fury, they're going to be watching Factory Stock Showdown. You want to see the pinnacle of the Copo, you watch Factory Stock Showdown. You want to see eCopo, maybe you could watch Stock Eliminator, or you could watch Comp Eliminator, or there could be a special thing, who knows? But we don't have to limit ourselves. No, the electric people can't come in. They're tinkerers, and they're good, and they're mechanical, and they're innovating, and the cars are neat, but we don't want them involved with us because of whatever reason. I personally do not believe that in the sport of drag racing, electric only is ever going to fully take over. I don't think it's possible. I think people love the sound. But I like checking out an e-car every once in a while. Pretty neat. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thanks to Don Garlits and Shirley Muldowney for coming on the show with zero notice. Zero. Garlits and Muldowney just made it happen for you, the WFO universe. And that's why you should subscribe. Also, Matt Hagan. He had notice. He had a Frank Hawley, big supporter of the show. Drag Racing Edge magazine, John DiBartlomeo, Brett, the people over there, big help to WFO Radio. Play that EV3 Drag Racing, you could win a copy of Drag Racing Edge magazine. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. I really appreciate all of you listeners. And one more thing. New special project coming soon. I've been teasing it. You should have been able to pick it up by now. Really. New special project coming soon. I need you to subscribe. Be there. WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.